Hello everybody, my name is Crimson and today we will be checking out the masterpiece known as Dark Souls. One of the most influential games ever made, and a game commonly heralded as one of the greatest of all time, which a lot of games said to be one of the all-time greats fall under most influential already. I'll be playing through the game and talking about what happens throughout the game, the lore, and my overall opinions on the game and a lot of its aspects. This is also my first ever scripted video, so sorry if it seems kinda bare bones. But anyways, let's get into the world of Dark Souls. Before I begin talking about the game, I think it would be a good idea to discuss its origins and development. After the success of Demon Souls in 2009, the game's development team, From Software, and the game's director, Hidetaka Miyazaki, decided to do it again and make Dark Souls, deciding to sign on with Bandai Namco so they can release the game for multiple platforms, because Demon Souls was only available on the PS3, and 11 years later, it is now only available on PS5 as well. The design and development of Dark Souls had a guided freeform approach, whatever that means, with Miyazaki helming the world building, lore, and other stuff like that, while giving the designers some creative liberties. In a quote from Miyazaki, in a DesignWorks interview, quote, "The design ordering process for Dark Souls can be divided into two main categories. The first involves providing the designers with simple keywords we brainstormed during the early stages of project development, and allowing them to design freely. We take the images they produce and provide feedback, make adjustments as necessary, or incorporate their ideas into our plans. The second process comes into play once we've settled on the basic details of the game world. At that point, we are able to make more detailed design requests. These requests usually include information like how the design will be used, where in the game the design will be used, and the specific purpose of the design in terms of what it will represent in the game. Either way, I'm the one who hands out the orders, and I work directly with each designer instead of having a middleman between us." End quote. Miyazaki took inspiration from several different sources, be it literature, mythology, or the real world. For example, the main building in Anne Orlando is based off the Milan Cathedral in Milan, Italy, and Chateau de Chambord, I probably butchered that, in France. Another example being how a lot of inspiration came from the manga series Berserk. And after you read Berserk, you will see tons of things that are straight up from Berserk, like how Artorias is based off of Guts. Miyazaki has described the aesthetic of the game as, quote, "a certain kind of refinement, elegance, and dignity," end quote. Miyazaki also states the design themes of Dark Souls as this, quote, "I put three major guidelines in place: gods and knights centered around Anne Orlando, demonic chaos and flame centered around Lost Izalith, and the theme of death centered around Gravelord Nito. To these themes, we added the special concept of ancient dragons that predate all life, and this formed the basis for Dark Souls," end quote. The characters, themes, and world of Lordran is based on several parallels from folklore and philosophies from Japanese and Greek mythology and French existentialism. Like how Gwyn is basically Zeus but cooler, don't at me. The game's universe is one of a world whose flame will eventually burn out, explored more in Dark Souls 2 and especially Dark Souls 3. And the tragedy of almost all of the characters in Dark Souls who all live in a seemingly meaningless world. Dark Souls was released on the PS3 and Xbox 360 in Japan on September 22nd, 2011, and a month later in the western regions of the world with an incredibly bad PC port releasing on August 23rd, 2012. Like, Jesus Christ, it was awful. A year after the game's launch in October 2012, the Artorias of the Abyss DLC released in the Prepare to Die edition. The game was later remastered in May of 2018, releasing on the PS4, the Xbox One, PC, and on Nintendo Switch in October later that year. Now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get into Dark Souls. We begin Dark Souls with the character creation screen, and good lord, the graphics on my character looks ugly. Sex? Yes, please. Then we get our classes. I may have taken an English class, I was never really good at math. We got Warrior, Knight, Wanderer, Thief, Bandit, Hunter, Sorcerer, Pyromancer, Cleric, and Deprived. Here's the basics of each class in less than a minute. Choose Warrior if you want a Strength and Dex build. Choose Knight if you want good armor and HP right away. Choose Wanderer if you want a Dex build. Choose Thief if you want a Dex build, Electric Boogaloo. Choose Bandit if you want a Strength build. Choose Hunter if you want to do ranged combat without magic. Choose Sorcerer if you want to cast sorceries. Choose Pyromancer if you want to use Pyromancies or do an easier Soul Level 1 run. Choose Cleric if you want to cast Miracles. And finally, choose Deprived if you want to make a Soul Level 1 run harder than it already is. I'm going to be starting off as a Pyromancer because I like throwing fire at random schmucks only a couple dozen times per playthrough. Then we got gifts. We have 3 Goddess Blessings, which is described as Holy Water from the Goddess of Sunlight, Bounty, and Fertility, Guinevere, the daughter of Lord Gwyn. We see Guinevere later in the game, so I will talk more about her when we see her again. They can heal all HP and undo irregularities, and they can also be purchased by patches after beating Gravelord Nito. 10 Black Fire Bombs that are bombs. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. Get these if you want to kill the Asylum Demon quicker. You can purchase these from the Crestfallen Merchant and Chester. Choose Twin Humanities if you want 2 Humanities, which are rare, tiny black sprites found on corpses. The description reads, "This black sprite is called a humanity, but little is known about its true nature. If the soul is the source of all life, then what distinction is left for humanity?" We will talk about humanity later, but let's continue. Binoculars are binoculars. Choose these if you don't want to grab them 15 minutes after you start the game. With the Hawk Ring, you can see further, and it's particularly useful when trying to find the amazing chest. The pendant can be traded later in the game. A simple pendant with no effect. Even so, pleasant memories are crucial to survival on arduous journeys. Choose this if you want a souvenir of reprisal. It is speculated that the pendant may be an heirloom handed down from the Furtive Pygmy, one of the first beings in Lordaeron to receive the power of the First Flame, which means Rhea of Thorland could possibly be descended from the Furtive Pygmy, but this is just pure speculation. The Master Key unlocks several locks in the game, and it is given to you automatically if you choose the Thief class. You can use it to open a residence in Undeadburg, the Watchtower Basement allowing a shortcut to Darkroot Basin, which is guarded by Havel, Knight Lautric's Cell, a door leading to the Valley of the Drakes, which can allow you to go to Blighttown sooner, and to free Big Hat Logan in Sen's Fortress. This is probably the most useful gift in the game. The Tiny Being's Ring gives a 5% increase of HP. Take it if you want a bit more health at the beginning, but it's honestly better to just get the Ring of Faith and Protection a couple hours later. You can also find it later after Siegmeyer gives it to you in Anne Orlando, and the Old Witch's Ring if you want to understand the Fair Lady. It is described as an old ring from an old witch, engraved minutely with indecipherable script, but seemingly useless. Choose this if you want to understand the Fair Lady. My gift will be the Old Witch's Ring because it makes some lore explanations a bit easier for me to explain. Now, after making the most attractive chosen undead you have ever seen in your life, let's get into the game. But first, an opening cutscene.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bullets peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark sign.
This is the most exposition you will get in the game, basically setting up the world of Dark Souls. All of these concepts are very important, but in case you don't understand, I will restate the basic concept at the beginning. During the time of the Everlasting Dragons, fire was found by Gwyn, Gravelord Nito, the Witch of Izalith, and the Furtive Pygmy, which gave them the souls and power needed to take down the dragons, which ended the Age of Dragons, obviously. Each of the four became a lord of a different domain birthed from fire. Gwyn became the Lord of Sunlight, the Pygmy became the Lord of Darkness, the Witch of Izalith became the Lord of Life, and Gravelord Nito became the Lord of Death. With the help of Seath the Scaleless, the dragons were all defeated by Gwyn and the other three lords, and the Age of Fire began after Gwyn linked the first flame. However, the first flame began to die out, and the Age of Fire was about to conclude. All the lords feared they would begin to lose their power, and the Age of Dark would soon begin. The gods and the lords, in an act of desperation and fear of the Dark Soul found by the Furtive Pygmy and humanity, Gwyn made a decision that will haunt the rest of humanity throughout the rest of the series. He cursed humanity with the Dark Sign, making every human weaker in an attempt to make sure they never could link the fire or bring the Age of Dark, the greatest sin against humanity. However, after centuries of abuse, the Dark Sign was weakened, allowing humans to come back to life as undead, but cursing them to eventually go hollow. Gwyn eventually martyred himself and rekindled the first flame in order to postpone the Age of Fire. Now each undead who arrived in Lordran attempted to claim powerful souls and use the Lord Vessel to continue the Age of Fire. And now, we begin Dark Souls.
Yes, indeed. The Dark Sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Sounds like a pretty shitty fate to me. And then from above a body falls into our cell, all thanks to Oscar. And then he leaves. He successfully gave us a key to escape our cell. Finally, after about 14 minutes of yammering, I can actually play the game. As I leave my cell, I'm given some weak hollows to kill, and I do so easily because these guys have like 0.54 health. If we look to our right, we see a wild demon in its natural habitat, Get a look at this specimen. We will see this big boy again later, but for now, let's just continue. After a bit more walking, we encounter a bonfire and light it. The bonfire is acted as our respawn point. Whenever we die, we return to the bonfire, and as long as there is a bonfire lit, you will respawn again and again. After leaving the bonfire and opening a giant door, like, why does this door have to be so big? We walk into a room and... oh god! This is the Asylum Demon, the first boss of Dark Souls. It's pretty similar to Demon Souls' Vanguard Demon. It was spawned from the Bed of Chaos, which we will talk about later. Don't you worry. The Asylum Demon is pretty similar to the Demon Fire Sage and Stray Demon, both of which we find later in the game. Maybe a descendant of them. After wandering around Lordran after escaping Gwyn and his Silver Knights, it ended up at the Northern Undead Asylum, bringing its demon Great Hammer with it, which is a demon weapon made from the stone arch trees, and is used by lesser demons. Your weapon at this point in the game sucks, doing minimal damage to the Asylum Demon, if you choose to fight it. Thankfully, a door leads you out of this room into another bonfire where you can take a breather. You need to find some better equipment before you fight this thing again. Thankfully for us, we find our starting weapon and shield soon after. In my case, a hand axe and a cracked round shield. After a bit more exploring and oh Jesus! We encounter the guy who helped freed us, Oscar, but he isn't really doing so hot.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I, we're both undead. Hear me out, will you? Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
This gives us some pretty important information. First, hollowing. Hollowing in this game is basically a slow process where you lose your sanity, your emotions, your will, something all undead will eventually become unless they find humanities. Hollowing occurs when someone has no more goals or purpose in life, or if they give up. I see hollowing as a metaphor for depression, as it is somewhat similar. It's almost kind of scary. We also learn about the undead prophecy, where an undead is supposed to relink the first flame. Wonder who that is. And we also get a goal, ring the bell of awakening.
There are actually 2 bells of awakening.
We also get Estus flasks, a dull green flask full of bottled fire. That's why they get refilled at bonfires, people. This is our healing. It's fire. It's fire. It's fire, guys. Come on. Well, enough standing around. Let's continue. I fought my way through a few more hollows and found my pyromancy, described as a flame medium used by great swamp pyromancers. Pyromancers arouse this flame to produce various fire arts. A description from later in the game, if you upgrade your pyromancy enough, states, Pyromancy flame, drawing upon the latent power of Quelana from Izalith, mother of pyromancy. For the pyromancer, a flame is a precious thing indeed, to be nurtured, often for an entire lifetime. When the flame is shared, it creates an eternal bond between the parties. We will talk about Quelana when we encounter her. We enter through the fog wall, right above the Asylum Demon, and we are rewarded with a plunging attack. What Jesus damage! The Asylum Demon, I think, is an okay fight. It's the easiest boss fight in the game behind Pinwheel. I actually just messed around so I can get enough footage. This is basically just a reskin of the Vanguard Demon from Demon Souls, and is serviceable as a first boss fight. I don't really have much to say about the Asylum Demon. It's the Asylum Demon. I mean, I guess its music slaps. about it. C tier. After the Asylum demon fight, we escape the Asylum and walk up to the precipice and— giant bird! After a bit, the giant crow drops us off at Firelink's Shrine, our hub area, an area in the world of Lordran where sane undead can find refuge from the harshness of the rest of Lordran. I love this hub area as it feels so calming and nice. And while I prefer Majula, I just feel more connected to Firelink Shrine. Its music just feels warm and welcoming. In fact, there are only 4 areas in Dark Souls where music plays, outside of bosses. Firelink Shrine, the Fair Lady's Room, Guinevere's Bedroom, and Ash Lake. I will talk about the music for these other locations when we get to them, but for now we will continue talking about Firelink. Firelink is also connected to several major locations of the game. The Catacombs, Undead Burg, Undead Parish, New Londo Ruins, Northern Undead Asylum, and Firelink Altar. That's 6 locations accessed just from Firelink.
That's nuts!
I'll talk more about interconnectivity later, but for now, let's just talk to this random schmuck.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first. But there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are actually 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happened. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead? What? You want to hear more? Oh, that's all we need. Another inquisitive soul. Well, listen carefully then. One of the bells is up above in the undead church, but the lift is broken. You'll have to climb the stairs up the ruins and access the undead burg through the waterway. The other bell is back down below the undead burg, within the plague-infested Blight Town. But I'd die again before I step foot in that cesspool. Bloody hell, what is it now? You ask too many questions. What now? I'm not up for chatting. Leave me alone.
So we learn instead of 1 bell,
There are actually 2 bells of awakening.
also this guy is just a bit of a jerk, so there's that. I really like the Crestfallen Warrior. He just gives you news on what's going on in Firelink for the first half of the game. He fears Halloween, so his whole purpose is to just berate and give advice to new undead. And he gives some very useful information. Every time you see him, talk to him and exhaust his dialogue. You will get some great stuff. After walking a bit more, Fatty ahead!
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Thoroland. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible. Hello there. I realize that I have requested that we retain our distance, but I also want you to know that it is not meant in ill will. Here, take this, as a token of peace. No, go ahead. It's for you. Oh my, you again. Oh, I know. How about this? I have to await my companions here anyway. So what if I were to teach you some miracles? Would that please you? Very well. Then first, a covenant with the gods. Now let me share my miracles. Only their ultimate effectiveness will be determined by your efforts and your faith. My companions are Milady and her young knights. She is young, but burdened by an undead mission. We are her defenses, to keep her from harm. An undead mission? Regrettably, I cannot share that with you. But you are my pupil. Perhaps if you show your faith. Very well. I can surely tell you, of all people, undead clerics are given a mission to seek kindling. Kindling is the art of feeding bonfires with humanity. Through kindling, we shall one day be granted magnificent powers.
This is Petrus of Thorland. He is a part of the Way of the White, a covenant that is the oldest and most powerful covenant, and is centered around the reverence of the gods, and they want to maintain the Age of Fire as much as possible. It was founded by Lloyd, a god of law and caste, and once all the gods left Anne Orlando, he went to Thorland and established the Way of White, a militant religion, and he began a tradition in which his clerics hunted the undead who were seen as cursed. But even his own knights were paranoid of Lloyd, meaning that his rule was more so totalitarian, and clerics questioning the teachings were exiled to spiritual journeys to test their faith. But later on, the undead hunts aimed to seek out kindling, which, as Petrus described it, as a secret rite of feeding humanities to bonfires. We actually do this to gain more Estus Flask uses. Rhea of Thorland is actually on one of these undead missions. Petrus is here in Firelink waiting for Rhea, and he can tell you miracles. At this point, I went to the New Londo ruins to find a Firekeeper soul. A Firekeeper soul is able to boost the health regeneration of flasks, so they are very useful. Oh hey, there's no enemies, I wonder. Oh Jesus, oh god, ghosts! I'm getting out of here. I go over to the Firekeeper Anastasia, who is unable to speak, and boost my flask regeneration.
Oh, have you seen that terribly morose lass? The Firekeeper. She's stuck keeping that bonfire lit. Sad, really. She's mute and bound to this forsaken place. They probably cut her tongue out back in her village, so that she'd never say any god's name in vain. How do these martyrs keep chugging along? I'd peter out in an instant.
I decide to finally go over to the Undead Burg. But first, time to level up. Wait, what do these mean? These are the stats of Dark Souls, and I will quickly explain them. Vitality increases the player's health and is very useful, especially later in the game. Attunement increases the amount of spell slots that you can use for a maximum of 10. Endurance increases your stamina, how long you can run, and how many times you can attack before exhausting. Your equip load, how much you can carry, and depending on your equip load, how fast you can roll. And it also increases your bleed resistance. Strength increases your weapon damage for strength scaling weapons and is needed to meet specific requirements for certain weapons. Dexterity does the same thing, but for dexterity scaling weapons. And it increases your casting speed for spells. Resistance increases your physical defense, fire defense, and poison resistance. Intelligence increases weapon damage for intelligence scaling weapons, and increases damage with sorceries, and also to reach requirements to use certain sorceries. And Faith is the exact same, just with Faith weapons and miracles. Anyways, enough dilly-dallying, let's do this. After fighting some hollowed soldiers and a giant rat, like good lord that's a large rat, we reach Undead Burg, a fortified town full of undead. After looking around for a bit, searching for the items, killing a few hollows, I find a humanity. Now, what is a humanity? Humanity restores your humanity if you have hollowed, and turns you back into a human. And humanities are needed for several Covenant quests, and to summon cooperators for boss fights. For lore, I have absolutely zero clue. Remember when I said, We will talk about humanity later, but let's continue. Well, this is it, and I still can't describe them. I mean, I think they are parts of the Dark Soul that and can mitigate the effects of the Dark Sign for a brief period of time, but I'm not sure. After going through the fog wall, oh god, dragon! After a bit, I find this strange merchant.
Well now, you seem to have your wits about you, hmm? Then you are a welcome customer. I trade for souls. Everything's for sale.
I love this dude. He's so strange and weird and creepy, I love it. His lore is that he went to Lordran because he was mistreated in his home. That's it. He also gives us some good information on the two bosses in the Undead Burg.
Things are getting treacherous in these parts. A horrible goat demon has moved in below. And up above, there's that humongous drake and a bull demon too. If you stick around this place, it might end up being your grave.
He is pretty useful to get some things early game, like repair powder, throwing knives, fire bombs, Lloyd's talismans, and the orange guidance soapstone. The orange guidance soapstone allows you to write messages for players to see and rate them, which I bought. He also sells the residence key, which can unlock 2 doors in Undeadburg, a repair box that allows you to repair equipment at bonfires, and a bottomless box, which allows you to store things at bonfires. He also sells several weapons and shields. I bought a scimitar from him because it is useful for my build later. He also sells chainmail armor. Anyways, let's continue. I'm paranoid. Anyways, this chest gives you 3 gold pine resin, which applies lightning damage to your weapon, which is useful on dragons. You can grab it if you buy the residence key. Oh hey, a hollow up there. I wonder, oh god! After climbing the tower and passing the fog wall. Oh hey, we are on the wall. A couple of hollows up there. Alright, I'm gonna leave now. This is the second boss, the Taurus Demon. A Minotaur-like demon found in the Undeadburg, and is a weaker version of the same demons found in the Demon Ruins later on. Or maybe they're the same level of strength, I don't know. I'm not checking. The Taurus demons are lesser demons made by the Bed of Chaos, which we will talk about later. Oh boy, we will talk about it later. It has a pretty similar lore to the Asylum Demon. Actually, it's scary how similar. The strategy for the Taurus Demon is to go up to the tower and do a plunging attack to deal massive amounts of damage, but as you can see, it's also possible for the boss to just kill itself, which is fun. Overall, a decent fight, but nothing really remarkable. D tier. After beating the Taurus Demon, we find Solaire!
Ah, hello. You don't look hollow, far from it. I am Solaire of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son. You find that strange? Well, you should. No need to hide your reaction. I get that look all the time. Oh, aha. So I didn't scare you. I have a proposition, if you have a moment. The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined. In a land brimming with hollows, could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey? This pleases me greatly. Well then, take this. We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact. But use this to summon one another as spirits, cross the gaps between the worlds, and engage in jolly cooperation. Of course, we are not the only ones engaged in this, but I am a warrior of the sun. Spot my summon signature easily by its brilliant aura. If you miss it, you must be blind. Oh, hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun. The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
Solaire is probably this game's best NPC. Just a warrior of sunlight searching for his own sun. And no, not sun, S-O-N, I mean sun as in S-U-N. He's a very jolly and upstanding guy. I love him, platonically of course. He also gives a vague yet really interesting explanation for the multiplayer. If you didn't piece it together, yep, this game has a multiplayer. And he gives you a white sign soapstone, allowing you to leave a summon sign for co-op multiplayer. There's also several theories connecting Solaire and Gwyn, like Solaire being a son of Gwyn, which is pretty interesting. He's honestly one of my favorite NPCs in the Soul series. Not my favorite, but he's definitely up there. As I cross this bridge, oh, it's the dragon again. Hey, can you let me by? Please, come on, go, 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 go. Make it, make it, make it. Come on, go, 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 go. Come on, just go faster. Yes! After stopping off at the bonfire, I grabbed the claymore, which will be pretty important for my build for just a little bit. A lot of people like it, and I do too, but I don't use it for too long because I prefer dexterity to strength. This bonfire is also situated at the Sunlight Altar, where you can join this Warrior of Sunlight Covenant if you meet the requirements. I won't be showing this covenant much in this video since I'm not playing a faith build, but I will just say that it is here. If you have 25 faith, you are able to join, and if you join, you get the Lightning Spear miracle. Basically, they are warriors who assist others in battles, and are watched over by the god of war. Gwyn's firstborn heir. Ring a bell? What about Nameless Kit? Yep, there's the bell. We now arrive at the Undead Parish, an area that is sort of an extension of Undead Burg, with the old and current Undead Church, which is also where the first Bell of Awakening is. After fighting my way through some Hollow Soldiers and, let's not talk about that. After fighting a bunch of Hollows, and I mean a bunch of Hollows, I arrive at the Undead Church, which is where we are supposed to be. But there is a diverging path over here, which leads me to another bonfire, which leads to the entrance of Sen's Fortress, which we will return to later. But we also see Siegmeyer of Katarina.
Oh, forgive me. I was absorbed in thought. I am Siegmeyer of Katarina. Quite honestly, I've run flat up against a wall, or a gate, I should say. The thing just won't budge, no matter how long I wait. And oh, have I waited. So here I sit, in quite a pickle, weighing my options, so to speak. Still closed. Still closed.
I really like Siegmeyer. He's a friendly and joyful person in this world, and it's so infectious. Katarina is a land in this world that is known for their festivities, drinks, and the joviality of its inhabitants. And their warriors usually wear armor designed to look like onions, but are often made fun of for their armor designs. Like I don't understand, they look so cool. We also meet Andre of Astora, a blacksmith from Astora.
You must be a new arrival. I'm Andre of Astora. If you require smithing, then speak to me.
We don't know much about Andre, but he is a real one, being our blacksmith in not only Dark Souls 1, but also Dark Souls 3. We also learn about what Sen's Fortress is.
Sen's Fortress is an old proving grounds built by the ancient gods. It is the only route leading to the great Anor Londo. Of course, most fools can't even find their way into that fortified death trap. But they won't stop trying. Take that bumbling Sir Onion.
And he insults my boy, and that makes me upset. We also learn that there is a divine blacksmith in the Darkroot Gardens, who we will see later. I used this time so I could upgrade my claymore to +5 for the Bell Gargoyles fight. Going back to the Undead Church, oh god! That was easy. I then grabbed the Firekeeper Soul so I can upgrade my flasks to +2. Hey look, I wonder where this elevator leads to. Wait, I'm back at Firelink? What is this chicanery? Yes, you are seeing this right. Undead Parish connects back to Firelink. This is the main thing that Dark Souls 1 has over every other Souls game. An interconnected world where everything connects. Even if you don't think they could connect, they do. It's not just a straight line with a hub world, this entire world connects, outside of a few areas that don't connect back to other areas. I absolutely love this concept of interconnectivity, and it makes Lordran feel just so much more real than if it wasn't. Going back to the Undead Parish, I see a dude who does a funny little dance. After a bit more of exploring and rolling into an obvious secret, I see someone trapped in a cell.
Still human, are you? Then I am in luck. Could you help me? As you can see, I am stuck without recourse. Thank you. Yes, sincerely. I am Knight Lautrec of Karim. I truly appreciate this, and I guarantee a reward. Only later. Yes, very sorry. Your reward will have to wait. I've just been freed. Allow me some time.
This is Lautrec of Karim, a follower of the goddess Fina, a goddess known for possessing a fatal beauty, and she was of a fickle nature. And after the Nameless King was exiled from Anor Londo, she left Anor Londo alongside the rest of the deities. He is on a mission that we have no clue on what it is. After freeing Lautrec, he will go to Firelink and stay there, but if you get the Firekeeper soul in Blighttown, or ring the second Bell of Awakening, he will kill Anastasia and go to Anor Londo. I have no use for Lautrec except...
You leave me no choice.
I couldn't not, okay? At this point, I decide to take on the Bell Gargoyles, and yes, I summon Solaire for this fight. Crucify me in the comments as much as you want. The Bell Gargoyles were made by the gods to stop anyone from entering Anor Londo, and is about as strong as Gwyn's Silver Knight, as stated by Miyazaki. They are the first duo fight in this game, and are quite similar to the Man-Eaters from Demon Souls, except far better. In the first half of the fight, you only fight one gargoyle, but at half health, another gargoyle shows up. This gargoyle is missing half of its health and can't fly, but it has fire attacks. It might seem overwhelming, but be mindful of your positioning and you can survive. I really like this fight, as it's one of the best duo fights in the series in my opinion, and it challenges newer players and the music slaps as well. B tier. After beating the gargoyles, we ascend the tower on top of the undead church and ring the first Bell of Awakening. Descending the tower, we find Oswald of Karim.
Greetings. I am Oswald of Karim, the pardon. Thou art a friend. From thee, a warm welcome. Cometh thou to confess, or to accuse? For indeed all sin is my domain.
Very little is known about him, but his purpose is to absolve the players of sin, basically making any hostile NPCs non-hostile anymore. He doesn't do much, but I like him anyway. After using the basement key, we descend down into the lower Undeadburg, full of thieves and dogs, and where that goat demon that was mentioned earlier resides. A bit back, you can find a door that, after unlocked, you can find Griggs of Vinheim.
Somebody, anybody, help me. Unlock the door.
Damn, I'm finished. How did this ever happen?
A modest sorcerer, and is the supposed apprentice of Big Hat Logan.
You opened the door for me. Thank you. I'm saved. I thought I might never escape. I am Griggs of Vinheim, a sorcerer of the school. I am much obliged for your assistance. Thanks to you, I may now resume my travels. Oh, hello. I'm fine. I will rest a while, then return to Firelink Shrine. I have my sorcery, and I will be more cautious next time. Besides, I have an important task at hand.
We don't know much about him, other than the fact that he is from the Dragon School. In Vinheim, it is said sorcerers who wear black robes are thieves, and it is presumed he is a spy sent for Logan. After freeing him, he will return to Firelink Shrine, where he will sell you sorceries.
Oh, hello. I regret meeting you under such compromising circumstances. At least we both made it back unscathed. Incidentally, would you care to learn any sorceries? You're clearly talented, and besides, I owe you. Of course, we will require some materials, but I'm happy to teach you some elementary spells. Are you interested? Splendid. Very well. I am pleased to have a chance to give something back. Well then, let's get started straight away. Have you heard of Big Hat Logan? Master Logan is a great sorcerer and my teacher. Both of us came to this land as undead, but one day he departed, leaving only a note. I suppose he wished to keep me out of harm's way. But where does that leave me? I have dedicated myself to sorcery, but Master Logan could find no use for me. Ah, yes. The note that Master Logan left. It only said he would travel to Anolondo by way of Sen's fortress. I can only guess that he seeks the regal archives. For Master Logan is a tireless pursuer of wisdom. Wisdom trumps all. Everything else is hogwash. When the curse turned him undead, I'm certain that he only felt it was the perfect chance to visit this land. I only wish that I had his courage. 2 things are required for sorcery. First, you must equip a wand. Second, you must attune a sorcery. Then you will be ready to fire away. Oh, and don't forget to aim. Goodbye then. Do stay safe.
Progressing further in the lower Undeadburg, we enter a fog wall and encounter the Goat Demon. The Capra Demon is another demon created by the Witch of Izalith, like the Taurus and Asylum demons, but it is theorized that they are much more tactical demons. I really dislike this fight, mostly because of the dogs. The dogs ruin this fight. There is no way, whenever you go through that fog wall the first time, you're winning the fight. It's just impossible. If you go up the stairs and take out the dogs, you are left with a decent fight, but going into the fog wall for the first time, you are most likely going to die from the dogs. The dogs really just ruin what otherwise would have been a pretty decent fight. And they just ruin it for me. E tier. After regressing a bit more, we find a way back to Firelink Shrine, where the crestfallen warrior gives us some new information.
Why, what a surprise. I didn't expect you to make it. Oh, somebody rang the bell. Wait, was it you? You never give up, do you? I don't know how you do it. Well, don't stop now. Only one more. But it's going to be suicide. Did you see her? That virtuous little maiden, complete with followers in tow? They're probably going straight to pillage graves. I've heard enough about Milady for a lifetime. What's wrong? Get a bit of a scare out there? No problem. Have a seat and get comfortable. We'll both be hollow before you know it. Well, I've already decided. I don't really care. I'm simply crestfallen. How did that nutty sorcerer make it back? Unexpected. But I suppose stranger things have happened. How did that raggedy old chum end up? You know, the one who idolized some godmother of pyromancy. He left for Blighttown, but never came back. Whereas most flee from sickness, he dives right in. Well, nothing will harm him once he goes hollow. What now? I'm not...
And hey, look at this.
Oh, hello. My guests have finally arrived. I will be departing with them shortly. So, I'm afraid I will be saying goodbye soon. It was a pleasure.
This is Rhea of Thorland, a cleric who is Petrus's milady, and is the youngest daughter of Thorland, and a part of a royal bloodline.
Rhea is the youngest daughter of the good house of Thorland. Those young knights are her old schoolmates, but I'm not sure what to make of them. I'm afraid they may be a bad influence.
She is here with her old classmates, who are now her bodyguards, on an undead mission for kindling.
Huh? Huh?
What have we here? You look awfully raggedy. Times are grim. The least you can do is look sharp. Don't you dare meet my lady like that. You might scare her off for good. Oh, you again. What business have you? Don't suppose we can help, though. We accompany my lady on her righteous mission. It is quite a chore, but I'm stuck with her. And Nico, too. I can't very well abandon them now. Oh, we're to leave momentarily. The catacombs aren't exactly my idea of a good time, but what can one do? I do hope we meet again, rare or not.
You are undead as well. Then we've no time to fraternize. I have my mission and you no doubt have yours. We must not let this curse overcome us. Did I not explain the urgency of our tasks? Or are you so uncouth as to lack such judgment? By the looks of you, I should think not.
And now, we must move on to the depths of the Undead Burg. As I begin to walk back to the depths, I encounter a hollow merchant who sells moss.
You still have your senses about you. Then why won't you buy some of my moss? I need your souls.
She's mostly useful for buying purple moss clumps, which cures poison, blooming purple moss clumps that cures toxic, and blood red moss clumps, which cures bleed. She also sells transient curses, rotten and charcoal pine resins, luring skulls, homeward bones, purging stones, and prism stones. According to lore, purging stones redirect curses, not break them. It is said that the stone itself was once a person, which we see in Dark Souls 3. Charcoal pine resins apply fire to weapons and are effective against corporeal creatures and undead, and rotten pine resins help build up poison. Transient curses allow the player to damage ghosts. That's really all they do. Luring skulls basically lure any enemy within that area to it. And prism stones leave a little marker behind. And finally, homeward bones return you to the last bonfire you rested at. She is pretty useful at this point in the game. Moving on, we begin to descend into the depths, and oh look, a butcher. I wonder what kind of meat he is making.
Would have been a supper without you.
Oh god, he's gonna eat me! No more. After killing him, we find a large ember, which allows for reinforcement to +10. After a bit of investigation, we find Laurentius, a pyromancer who was a student of pyromancy from the Great Swamp, who was going to be eaten sometime soon.
Thank you. I would have been a supper without you. Been eaten alive. I shudder to think. Thank you. Thank you dearly. I am Laurentius, of the Great Swamp. I will not forget my debt to you. Oh, hello there. I'm fine, thanks to you.
If you save him, he will return to Firelink Shrine, and you can buy pyromancies from him. And you can upgrade your own pyromancy.
Well, I see you made it out. Yeah, I made it out safely too. I have my pyromancy of the Great Swamp, so I can use my knowledge with a bit of care. Oh yeah, by the way, I can share my spells with you. I think you have a knack for it. All you need are the materials. I'll be pleased to help you. Unless you find the magics unsavory. Yeah, wonderful. I'm sure that they'll be of some use, some assistance. Why, let's get started right now. Pyromancy is the art of casting fire. Produce flame, then channel it, just as our ancestors did. A pyromancer must be in tune with nature herself. My home, the Great Swamp, is an abundant store of nature. You will understand one day. It only takes time. Pyromancy has a, well, rather primitive aspect to it. It meshes poorly with advanced culture, and pyromancers are considered rather unsavory, which is fine, as I never got along with anybody anyway. So, for me, turning undead didn't change a thing. A pyromancer's flame is a part of his own body. The flame develops right along with his skill. Oh, sorry. You're a pyromancer yourself. You already know this. Goodbye then. Be safe, friend. Don't you dare go alone.
Going down further, we get down into the sewers, find a bunch of slimes, and a bonfire. This is the depths, a place where thieves and such get banished from the undead burg. We must trek through the rest of the sewers to proceed, and we fight a bunch of rats, and more rats, and even more rats, and even more. Jesus, it's huge! God, this reminds me of New York sewers. And yet again, descending even more, we see even more rat. You know, that's not what I was expecting. But what the hell is... And they killed me. Wait. Why do I have half my health now? What the fuck? This is Dark Souls 1's curse effect. And easily the most annoying part of Dark Souls 1, besides the bed of chaos. I hate how some of the Souls games just have a condition where your maximum health is lost after death. Demon Souls had a world tendency. Dark Souls has curse. Dark Souls 2 has its base hollowing effect, and petrification, and curse. Good god. I hate how you lose health each time you die in Dark Souls 2. Now 2 other effects like that exist in the game. It's so stupid. Thank god curse doesn't do that in Dark Souls 3. I think. I've never been cursed in Dark Souls 3, so I'm not really sure. Now I have to go and get a purging stone. Good god. After purging the curse, I return to the sewers and get invaded by Kirk, Knight of Thorns, an invader who will invade the player 3 times throughout the game, in the Depths, the Demon Ruins, and Lost Izalith. Why does he invade areas connected to the Witch of Izalith? Simple. He is a Chaos Servant who invades other worlds to gather humanity for a reason I will speak on soon. But for now, we must continue. A summon sign for Solaire? Okay. Skills around the corner. Walking on, fighting side of me. That don't look like it. It don't. It don't go down. It goes down. No, it don't. It do go down. Oh! This is the Gaping Dragon, a distant descendant of the Everlasting Dragons, and is one of the few dragons to survive the war against the dragons, and was left to survive in any way it possibly could, and over time was corrupted by the darkness and transformed into a deformed abomination, its ribcage turning into a gigantic maw that oozes with acid. It's an okay fight, but it's not too hard to not get hit by it, if you are keeping an eye on it. I still have fun with this boss though, and really like its design, but it's nothing too remarkable like the Taurus Demon. But it's better than the Taurus Demon because I like its design more, and it has better lore. C tier. After killing the dragon, you get a key to Blighttown, and we will go over there later. For now, I will check out some of the other areas in the game before we descend into Blighttown. After returning to Andre, I buy the Crest of Artorias, allowing me to gain access to most of the Darkroot Garden. But for what the? I guess I will fight that thing later. I don't think I'm ready for it. And there are walking tree things. Nice. After reaching the bonfire, I descend and go to the lower points of the Darkroot Garden and grab the Elite Knight Armor, which is what I will be wearing for most of the playthrough going forward. And further, we pass through a fog wall and begin another boss fight. This is the Moonlight Butterfly, a creature whose soul was made by Seath the Scaleless, and is infused with magic. And it was theorized that they were once humans like the Pisakas, Serpent Soldiers, and Men Scorpions, which is why the boss drops at humanity. This boss is not good. It just flies around shooting magic at you until it grounds itself. Hell, you can kill it if you have any ranged options, and when it grounds itself, you can kill it super quickly. As I am writing this, I am looking at attacks it can do, and I have never seen some of these. It's just a super boring fight. E tier. As we progress up the tower after beating the butterfly, we find the Divine Blacksmith that Andre brought up, already dead, and we collect the Divine Ember from him, allowing us to ascend weapons to Divine Weapons and reinforce them to +5.
Why, that's a fine ember you have there. I could smith some mighty weapons with one of those. Why not lend it to me? Magnificent! You won't be disappointed. I can hardly wait to get started.
Divine weapons are used mostly for hunting undead and necromancers, and we also find the Watchtower basement key, which leads to the Darkroot Basin. And also, oh hello. This is Havel the Rock, a close friend of Gwyn's and one of his generals, and he really fucking hates magic, and especially Seath the Scaleless. If you want to beat him easily... After delivering the Ember, we use the Crest of Artorias to access PvP Forest, as the community calls it. And there are so many NPC enemies. They offer a lot of souls if you kill them, so for the early game, this is the spot. An area in every Souls game where you can farm large amounts of souls to level up, or whatever the currency is in any Souls game. If you go deeper, you find Alvina, a talking cat?
Is it not so that thou art new? Thou fared well to find me, but cometh thee not for the grave of Sir Artorias? My advice true. Forget this, The legend of Artorias art none but a fabrication. Traversing the dark? 'Tis but a fairy tale. Have thine own respect. Go not yonder knocking for nothing, I say.
She heads the Forest Hunter Covenant and tells us that Artorias didn't traverse the Abyss, which isn't true, but she is half right. Artorias did not stop the spread of the Abyss, but we will return to that later. Also, I'm not going to explain who Artorias is just yet. I'll do that later, but basically he was a legendary knight who was lost to the Abyss. If you just want a quick synopsis.
Well, indeed, thou art a strange one. Nevertheless, I feel some liking for thee. I'm Alvina of the Darkroot Wood. I command a clan of hunters who track down defilers of the forest graves. What dost thou say? Wilt thou not join us? Oh, yes, I believe we would suit thee well. I am very glad. And now thou art one of us. Let us establish a covenant. And here taketh this ring. If thou wearest that ring, it allows for thine summoning. If mine senses reveal intruders, I will summon thee. Fend them off, sir. I beseech only this. I shall summon others who will, by their honor, work tirelessly with thee. Thou shalt receive great reward, and whatsoever ye shall pillage will be thine own. A true agreement, not so? But thou must heed the golden rule. The clan is thine only father. To thine kinsmen forever stay true. Darest not in any attempt to double-cross. Have no doubt, such wretchedness never will we tolerate.
She offers for us to join the Forest Hunter Covenant, another PvP-based covenant. Are you seeing a pattern here? If you wear the Cat Covenant ring, you will be summoned into the Dark Garden to defeat any invaders, which is really all. Only rules is you can't fight any of those in the forest because of that good old golden rule. Outside of where you meet Alvina, a new NPC, Shiva of the East, is now located here.
I've heard all about you. I'm Shiva of the East, captain of the brigade. Let's teach you the clan basics now, as there's no time to chat in the midst of fighting. Except there is little in the form of rules. You hear? Fight and hunt as you like. Whoever's fastest gets to play. That's the way we do it. Only, don't forget what Alvina said. Traitors aren't given a second chance, for any reason. That's about it then. Don't worry. It's a good old time, isn't it? Great to have you with us. Good hunting to you. Don't worry now. You'll be called in soon enough. Hunters with patience score the best kills.
Not much is known about Shiva other than him being from the Eastern Land and him being in Lordran for some reason. Actually, we do know the reason, but it's all cut content. Two NPCs in this game will mention distrust of Shiva, Alvina, and coincidentally enough, Patches. I don't have the footage for Alvina saying that, but I have the footage for Patches.
Here, have you met that backwoods Shiva? Believe me on this one, bruv. The man is trouble. I can see it in his eyes. I just can. No doubt about it. Watch him.
The cut content involves Shiva killing the player to obtain a Chaos Blade, a weapon that is created from the soul of Quelag, and a katana, to which he would then flee to the painted world of Ariamis, and the player could invade him to regain it. This blade could be the reason why Shiva came to Lordran. Who knows? Anyways, I think it's about time to return to Firelink. Huh? Ball in the crow nest. Alright. Wait, we're back? Yep, we are back at the Undead Asylum. If you crouch in the crow's nest for 15 seconds, you'll be returned to the Northern Undead Asylum, which allows you to grab everything else you missed the first time. And... oh. Oscar Hollowed. The man who saved us. If followed. This is the fate of those who give up, who have no purpose. This is the fate for you, if you give up. Hollowing. Anyways, as we continue, we encounter some Black Knife? Anyway, as we continue, we encounter some Black Knights. They were once Silver Knights who were charred black after fighting the Chaos Demons. You can also find a peculiar doll, which is needed in order to enter the painted world of Ariamis, so yeah, grab it. There's also the Rusted Iron Ring, which allows you to walk through areas where you would normally be slowed, like the Blighttown Swamp, at a normal pace. Anyways, I think that's all. Time to... oh, god damn it! This is the Stray Demon. Basically just a reskin of the Asylum Demon, but now it has magic AoEs. I don't like that. It barely has any lore, being just the same as the Asylum Demon. Its moveset is just annoying and unnoteworthy. Its design is just the same as the Asylum Demon. I just really dislike this fight, and the fact you have to waste an Estus Flask when you drop down is just terrible. E tier. Also, I returned to this fight later because I was underleveled, so yeah. Fuck this fight. It's about damn time I returned to Blighttown. Now, I'm gonna be real, I actually don't mind Blighttown.
Why you boring me? I'm right.
I know, I'm crazy. I still don't really like it, but I like how you have to descend this area from the top down all the way to the bottom. Also, I don't really like these small dogs. The lore behind Blighttown is that it is a town that developed in the outskirts of the Demon Ruins, potentially an old mining community, but was infected by some poison that mutated them, and likely became servants of Quelaag. Continuously descending, going in this place, we were able to grab another Firekeeper soul. Nice. Also, I hate these toxic assholes, like, so damn much. As we descend to the bottom, we reach the swamp, which, if we put on the Rusted Iron Ring, will allow us to traverse the swamp easier. Now, I wasn't able to do this in this playthrough, because I was unable to summon Quailana, because I forgot to upgrade my Pyromancy to +10, so I couldn't encounter her. She's a merchant who sells you pyromancies and can upgrade your pyromancy flame past +15 to a much stronger version. She's one of the several daughters of the Witch of Izalith, but Izalith and her siblings were consumed when they attempted to make their own first flame. Quailana escaped and became the creator of pyromancy, or maybe she died, who knows. She eventually taught everything she knew to Salaman, who eventually passed on her knowledge to Carmina and everyone else in the Great Swamp. This place is also pretty useful for me, since this is where I get several of the most important parts of my build.
Hello again. Strange to meet away from the clan and the forest. But while you are here, how about some equipment? I love collecting these things, but I can only keep so many. And you know, you are a friend. I'll sell them cheap.
First, Shiva's down here, and while I could get these... I prefer the Uchi Katana. I could also go into the Grey Hollow quickly and grab the Chloranthy Ring, which increases your stamina regeneration to 20 a second. There's even more in Blighttown, like the Crimson set, Tattered Cloth set, Shadow set, Wanderer set, Fire Tempest Pyromancy, Poison Mist Pyromancy, Power Within Pyromancy, Remedy Sorcery, a Dragon Scale, Butcher Knife, Eagle Shield, Falchion, Great Club, Iato, Plank Shield, Server, Tin Banishment, Catalyst, and the Whip. So many things you can grab here. And at the end is the second Belt of Awakening. But we will go there soon. But first, we must go grave robbing.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for
the rite of kindling?
Of course I am!
We return back to Firelink's Shrine and go in the one direction we have not yet. Behind us. And what do we find? Graves. And a bunch of skeletons. This is the graveyard, which leads to the catacombs, an underground area filled with skeletons, necromancers, and wisps. This place is often traversed by clerics of the Way of the White, we discussed earlier. In fact, Rhea and her 2 cleric buds I encountered earlier in the playthrough actually leave for the catacombs for such undead mission, so they can hope to retrieve the Rite of Kindling. The catacombs has constantly respawning skeletons. I know I'm sounding right. Well, yes, but actually no, because if you kill these necromancers, the skeletons don't respawn after you kill them. The catacombs are also often blocked off by these spiky bridges. Once you push in these things for the pillars, you are able to cross. Oh my god. I just realized an hour of footage is going to be devolved into like 4 minutes. The amount of skeletons can get quite overwhelming, but it'll be fine. Just hide in this coffin and they will go away. Wait, this isn't what's supposed to happen. This little coffin leads you to another covenant, the Gravelord Servant Covenant, which is led by none other than Gravelord Nito. This is, yet again, another PvP-based covenant, but this time, they spread misery and misfortune to other players by using Eyes of Death, which spread disasters across neighboring worlds, which, if I remember right, makes more enemies spawn and makes them stronger. Just by entering, you can gain the Gravelord Sword and Gravelord Sword Dance. And after donating 10 Eyes of Death, you gain Gravelord Great Sword Dance, and a plus 0.1 damage multiplier to Gravelord Dances. And for rank increases, it increases by 0.1 each time. There's a lot in the catacombs, just like the Dark Moon Seance Ring, which is necessary to join a covenant we will talk about later. But if you drop down here,
Gone with you. You spoil my focus.
this is Vamos, a blacksmith who also happens to be a skeleton. He is useful since he is the only blacksmith in the game who can upgrade weapons into chaos weapons. We don't know much about Vamos, nobody else mentions him in the game, and the only thing we can theorize is that he may have belonged to an ancient royal line, as revealed by the royal helm. There's so many other things in the catacombs, but I didn't find them, nor do I have the time nor gummy bears in order to mention them, so let's just proceed to the boss. Pinwheel is a piss-easy boss. I guess I should actually do my job and actually state more about the boss. Okay, Pinwheel is a super piss-easy boss. There we go. He's probably one of the easiest bosses in the entire series due to how pitiful his HP is. Pinwheel's a necromancer and a pyromancer who is wearing 3 masks, a father's, a mother's, and a child's. And because of how swollen his body is and his 3 pairs of arms, it'd be safe to assume that Pinwheel's 3 bodies fused together. My theory on this boss is that the father went into the catacombs to try stealing the Rite of Kindling and more of Nito's secrets in order to help revive his child and wife, but as you can see, it went awry. I know I'm wrong, but please just let me have this. I like this way more than the actual canon reason. I also really like the music that plays here. It's creepy in a really good way, and if you listen closely, you can hear whispers saying, "I'm sorry, it's all your fault, and help me," which adds fuel to my already wrong theory. I love my interpretation of this boss's lore, design, and music, but it is way too easy for me to consider it a good boss. D tier. After killing Pinwheel, he drops the Rite of Kindling, a secret rite allowing you to kindle bonfires further, giving you more Estus flasks for a maximum of 20. I think this is about time we return to Blighttown in order to ring the second Bell of Awakening. After traversing the poison swamps of Blighttown, we arrive at Quelaag's domain and cross the fog wall. Chaos Witch Quelaag, the sister of Quelana and one of the daughters of the Witch of Izalith. As I mentioned earlier, Quelana was the only one to escape, as everyone else there were horribly mutated into half-demon monstrosities. Quelaag, of those, seems to be the one doing the most well. Now, Quelaag is here for a reason, but I will talk about why soon. I really like this fight. Quelaag is a great wall to determine if you are ready for Sen's Fortress. If you are not, you need to level up and return later. This fight is the first one to just casually throw in an AoE, teaching the player about AoEs as long as you have not fought the Stray Demon already. She also has great tells for her attacks, if you pay attention to Quelaag herself and not the spider. You know what she will do, and it's pretty cool. Her moveset is also pretty diverse and fun to deal with. B tier. Afterwards, we proceed and ring the second Bell of Awakening, opening up Sen's Fortress. But there's more. If you go down and roll into this wall, you encounter Ingi, a devoted pyromancer to somebody.
Oh dear, what have we here? Are you a new servant? But you have no eggs. Ah, no matter. Go along and have audience with our fair lady. I pray that you will mind your manners. What is it? Go along and meet our fair lady.
The fair lady. Then find out why Quelaag was here. After the creation of the Chaos Flame and the malformation of Izalith and her children, Quelaag and the Fair Lady went here, and suddenly the Fair Lady started to give birth to demon insects to combat the demons of the demon ruins, and the inhabitants of Blighttown began to worship the sisters and willingly joined them. But the eggs weakened and blinded the Fair Lady.
Quelaag, my dear sister. Quelaag, what is it? Enter a covenant again. Of course. Let me try. Quelaag, my dear sister. The eggs, it hurts. They've gone still. I am afraid it may be too late. I am so sorry, dear sister. Goodbye, Quelaag. Do be safe. Oh my, don't mind me. It does not hurt terribly. I'll be fine. I have you, dear sister. But promise me that you will take care of yourself.
Quelaag was here so she could harvest humanities from any undead traveling to ring the second bell, so she could try to help her save her sister. And this is one of the several instances in the game of the player not understanding the full context and causing peril for those around them. Killing Quelaag means that the Fair Lady will maybe die, since she loses her supply of humanity. Unless you join the Chaos Servant Covenant and offer up humanities to help Quelaag. This covenant is pretty helpful if you are a pyromancer and need some pretty strong pyromancies. As we go a bit further, we end up in the Demon Ruins, which we will discuss more about later. Going across this walkway is a fog wall, and here is another one of Izaldith's children, Ceaseless Discharge. What a name. And he is seemingly watching over this body. If you pillage it, you will get the same armor that Quailana wears, so maybe this is Quailana, who knows. But it will also initiate the boss fight. Ceaseless Discharge is the youngest and the only known son of Izalith, but he was born with sores that ooze lava, which is just lovely. His sisters gave him a ring that could help his pain, but during the creation of the Chaos Flame, Ceaseless Discharge became a giant monstrosity, dropping the ring, which caused the creation of the Centipede Demon. And now here he stands, protecting his home, and watching over the corpse of one of his sisters. This fight, honestly, really sucks. He just slams you with his flaming tendrils, and sometimes he does a flamethrower attack, but if you just roll as he slams you with his tendrils, you can take the time to just whack at him. And even if he does hit you, you have enough time to pop an Estus Flask or two to heal, and you can try again. This fight is just super tedious and really boring. E tier. But now, we must progress to Sen's Fortress.
Did you ring the second bell? That is incredible, I must say. But now, we have a new problem. It's noisy, it snores, and its breath is lethal. This is no laughing matter, I tell you. Damn, that stench. And I was really beginning to like it here. Ah, maybe it's time I do something about it.
As we return to Firelink, we see a serpent?
Ah, hello. Was it you who rang the Bell of Awakening? I am the primordial serpent, King Seeker Framt, close friend of the great Lord Gwyn, chosen undead, who has rung the Bell of Awakening. I wish to elucidate your fate. Do you seek such enlightenment? Very well. Then I am pleased to share. Chosen undead, your fate is to succeed the great Lord Gwyn, so that you may link the fire, cast away the dark, and undo the curse of the undead. To this end, you must visit Anor Londo and acquire the Lord Vessel.
This is King Seeker Framt. He now gives us the goal of going to Anor Londo and getting the Lord Vessel, but first we have to pass through Sen's Fortress. And also, past this point, the crestfallen warrior becomes useless, as Framt is now our guide. Wonder what will happen.
Oh, hello. Well, you certainly are keeping at it. Myself, I'm fine. Let's get started straight away. Have you heard of Big Hat Logan? Master Logan is a great sorcerer and my teacher. Both of us came to this land as undead. But one day he departed, leaving only a note. I suppose he wished to keep me out of harm's way. But where does that leave me? I have dedicated myself to sorcery, but Master Logan could find no use for me. Yes, the note that Master Logan left. It only said he would travel to Anor Londo by way of Sen's Fortress. I can only guess that he seeks the regal archives, for Master Logan is a tireless pursuer of wisdom. Wisdom trumps all. Everything else is hogwash. When the curse turned him undead, I'm certain that he only felt it was the perfect chance to visit this land. I only wish that I had his courage.
We then arrive at Sen's Fortress, which was built by the ancient gods to test if anyone can even make it to Anor Londo. We walk in and Manserpent. Sen's Fortress is a gauntlet to test if you can even make it. Of course, if you have beaten the game a couple of times, you can get through it no problem. I was able to get through it without dying, as you can see in my footage that I will be providing. But there are many traps, swinging axes, arrow traps, giant rolling stones, etc. As we proceed, we can find Siegmeyer, who is in a bit of a pickle again.
Oh ho! Ah, where did you come from? Splendid news, I tell you. Ah, so you see my plight. Yes, indeed. I've run up against a wall, or a ball, to be precise. I must say, I'm a bit too tough to be outrunning those things. So here I sit in quite a pickle, but who knows? Perhaps we'll have another development. Perhaps I could try some rolling. Bah, that's done. My head would spin.
The giant boulder is giving him some trouble, but no worries, we can make it pass. Yeah, we can. Oh boy, I wonder what is in this chest. Turning this sends the boulder down here, which allows us to find Big Hat Logan.
You seem quite lucid. A rare thing in these times. I am Logan. I'm a bit cooped up, as you can see. I have a bright idea. Suppose you set me free. I'm old and empty-handed, but I could repay you with knowledge and sorcery. This place is melting my mind. The inactivity is repressive.
Logan is a famous sorcerer and royal member of the Vinheim Dragon School before he turned undead. He is stuck in this cage, and later on we will be able to find the key to free him. There are a lot of useful things in Sen's Fortress, like a Divine Blessing, the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring, the Flame Stolen Plate Ring, the Ring of Steel Protection, the Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring, the Hush Sorcery, several Demon Titanites, and a couple large Titanite shards, and Titanite chunks. So if you don't have your weapon to at least plus 10 by Sen's Fortress, you will get it to then when you get to Anor Londo. You can also find a Lightning Spear, Ricard's Rapier, a Scythe, a Shotel, and a Sniper Crossbow. Sen's Fortress is full of goodies for anyone, so pick up everything while you are here. As we continue, I succeed many different traps in Sen's Fortress, overcoming them until we eventually get outside. After many more hardships, we don't fight the Iron Golem. I have a few things to do, like freeing Big Hat Logan.
Oh, heavens. Thank you. I'm safe, and I'd love to resume my travels. But I must log a few things first, and I owe you a favor. I will return to Firelink Shrine. Speak with me there, so that I may impart my sorcery. Oh, hello. Don't mind me. Go on ahead. I'll be along later. Whoa, I'll be just fine, young one.
Also killing this guy, and then killing this guy. Okay, now I'll fight the Iron Golem. The Iron Golem is a construct made by the gods in order to protect Anor Londo that was animated by a core that the gods created by infusing the bone of an archdragon with souls. The Iron Golem was placed here at Sen's Fortress to be one final challenge before any undead traverse into the city of the gods. The Iron Golem isn't too tough. I never died to it, not even once. And as you can see in this footage, just sticking underneath of it and whacking it is doing enough. I'm really only getting damaged by its grab attack. Remember when I said that the Taurus Demon can sometimes kill itself by falling off the arena? Well, same goes for the Iron Golem, except it has happened to me way more times than the Taurus Demon, happening 3 of the 5 times I have played this game. But if it doesn't kill itself and you don't just stand under it, it's a pretty fun fight, all things considered. It's just one of the more... how do I put this? Inconsistent fights? I'm not sure. C tier. After defeating the Iron Golem, you can finally progress into Anor Londo. What can I say about Anor Londo? It's beautiful yet empty. Now, I will go into why it's like this later, but for now I gotta say that Anor Londo is amazing. After traversing Anor Londo a bit, we find the Dark Moon Knightus, one of Darksun Gwendolyn's loyal followers, and is a firekeeper like Anastasia.
Well, you are a rare visitor. Welcome to the lost city of Anor Londo, chosen undead. If you seek Lord Gwyn's old keep, exit here and head straight yonder. If you are the chosen one, a revelation shall visit thee. What follows thereafter depends upon you. What is it? What am I? Well, I am the keeper of the bonfire. If not for me, what beacon would there be in this lost city? A gatekeeper and a guide. That is my calling. The bonfires attended by the keepers are special. They are linked to one another, and their flames never die. Yet never shall the keepers of these flames meet. If you require rest, now is the time. That is, after all, what the bonfire is for.
After becoming undead, she traveled to the mausoleum of the Spiral Depths, where she met Gwendolyn and became a Blade of the Dark Moon, and her armor was given to her so she could hide her ghastly form. In fact, all the Firekeepers in the series share one thing in common. They are all disabled or have some sort of physical impairment or disfiguration. Anastasia is mute, the Dark Moon Knightess is disfigured, the Fair Lady is, well, you know. And in Dark Souls 3, our Firekeeper was blind. It's honestly kind of interesting. As we proceed, oh god, the gargoyle's back! We pass through here and into this building with a large painting and these guys. I really like this section where you pass atop this. What do I even call this? I don't even know. And you can even make the chandelier fall, which is fun. On the other side, you can finally pass through to get into the main building. But there's two things I need to do first. First, I must go down here, equip the Dark Moon Seance Ring, and talk to Gwendolyn.
Halt! This is the tomb of the great Lord Gwyn. Tarnished it shall not be by the feet of men. If thou art a true disciple of the Dark Sun, cast aside thine ire, hear the voice of mine self, Gwendolyn, and kneel before me. O disciple of the Dark Sun, thou hast journeyed far. Hear my voice. If thou shalt swear by the covenant to become a shadow of Father Gwyn and Sister Guinevere, a blade that shall hunt the foes of our lords, then I shalt protect thee, safeguarding thy person with the power of the Dark Moon. Very well. Now thou art a blade of the Dark Moon, hunteth the enemies of the lords by the power of the Dark Sun.
The Blades of the Dark Moon is another PvP-oriented covenant, where you must hunt those who have sinned, which ties into Oswald. Remember him? Once you join, you can get a Blue Eye Orb and the Dark Moon Blade Covenant Ring. And as you progress, you get the Dark Moon Blade and the Dark Moon Talisman. And if you progress further, the Dark Moon Blade's power can be increased. And next, we must go into the building with the chandelier and, well, you'll see. This is the painted world of Ariamis, a land caked with snow, and it has an old structure that looks like a cathedral inside. To enter, you need the peculiar doll, or else you can't. The world was created by Ariamis, and painting guardians were ordered to protect it for generations. It was created to seal away anything super dangerous, abominations, and sinners, but it was most likely originally intended to seal away Priscilla, who we will encounter later. It was once a peaceful land with kind inhabitants, as told to us by Priscilla, but for some reason someday they became hostile. As we proceed, we can enter through and, I'm sorry, what the hell? And even more so, what the hell are those? These are crow demons, who were people whose appearance were vastly twisted from humans, who were once cultists of Velka, the goddess of sin. Velka was a deity of sin, and her job is to define sins, and to give appropriate punishments for such sins, and had a list of people who disrespected the gods or their covenants. She's basically like that one bitch who remembers every bad thing every single ex she has had ever done, and as such, she was addressed as a witch, only fitting. She also had her own branch of clerics called pardoners, who would hear the confessions of sinners, and would offer absolution so they don't suffer the wrath of the gods. In fact, Velka seems to have a lot of things related to her found here, like the Black Cleric robe being found here, which was given to the Pardoners, Velka's rapier, and the Vow of Silence spell, alongside the Dark Ember. After Gwyn's firstborn son, that's just too complicated, I'm just gonna call him the Nameless King. After the Nameless King was dethroned and exiled, Velka abandoned Anor Londo along with the rest of the gods, however, still connected to collaborate with Gwendolyn and his covenant. There's also Jeremiah, the Xanthus king. What the hell does Xanthus mean? Hang on. What does this mean? What does this word mean? Having yellowish, red, auburn, or brown hair. Check something. Yep, that checks out. He primarily uses chaos pyromancies, and through his title of king, he could possibly have been the husband of Izalith. Wow. He also has a big bump on his head, like the egghead effect, so, I don't know. Some in-game stuff indicates he cheated on his wife with Fina, which caused him to be banished, so, yeah, that sucks, man, but you kinda did it to yourself. There's also, what the fuck? Who cares, it's easy to kill. We also have a reference to phalanx from Demon Souls. Also this right here. If you kill all these guys, you get 7,000 souls, so yeah, this is the spot for grinding. Well, this is my spot for grinding, but whatever. Now we have to... Oh god, bone wheel skeletons. After taking care of the bone wheel skeletons, we can open this door up and we can proceed to fight Priscilla.
Who art thou? One of us thou art not. If thou hast misstepped into this world, plunge down from the plank and hurry home. If thou seekest I, thine desires shall be requited not. Thou must returneth whence thou came. This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, but thou dost not belong. I beg of thee, plunge down from the plank and hurry home.
Priscilla is a crossbreed of the dragon seed the Scaleless and a human woman, so a monster fucker's child. She was feared by the gods due to her life hunt ability, and her obviously messed up origin. Now I have little clue what life hunt could mean, but by looking at the scythe and its absolutely absurd bleed buildup, I can only assume that it can tear apart practically anything so long as it bleeds. Because of this, she was sent into the painted world of Ariamis, since the gods thought she could be a danger to them. She's one of the only bosses in this series who is not immediately hostile to the player. The only other boss off the top of my head I can think of is Abritas from Bloodborne. So this can go one of two ways. Either you take her advice and leave, or you attack her. If you do, she will turn invisible and attempt to kill you, but you can see her footprints in the snow. If you smack her enough times, she will become visible again, and you can take her out. She's honestly a pretty easy boss, all things considered, which makes sense since you are the aggressor, not her. I honestly really like Priscilla's boss fight. While it's easy, she has a great design, amazing lore, an awesome weapon, a unique trick of her invisibility. Yeah, she's just a good fight. B tier. And now, we must leave to return to Anor Londo. As we return to Anor Londo, we continue to tread through and... Oh, what's this? Alrighty, y'all gonna see me single trade these guys. As we drop in, we can find Solera by this bonfire.
Oh, there you are. You've been quiet these days. Smooth summoning out there. Anytime you see my brilliantly shining signature, do not hesitate to call upon me. You've left me with quite an impression. I would relish a chance to assist you. You really are fond of chatting with me, aren't you? If I didn't know better, I'd think you had feelings for me. Oh no, dear me, pretend you didn't hear that.
Also, before I forget, this is the building I said was inspired by the Milan, the Cathedral, and Chateau de Chambord. Okay, let's get back to this.
There are a lot of silver knights in this place, knights who accompanied Gwyn to the kiln of the First Flame. We also find Siegmeyer, who made it to Anor Londo, which means Siegmeyer is so strong that he is one of 5 NPCs to actually make it to Anor Londo and past it. Along with Solaire, Rhea, Logan, and another Onion Knight. Hell yeah! Onion Knight sweep, baby!
Whatever can be done. Ah, you again. Let me guess. Were you repelled by the Silver Knights? Oh, don't be ashamed. 'Tis the fate of vanguards like you and I. I'll think of something. We can overcome this together. This is quite a fix. We'll need another 3, no, maybe 5 bodies. Quite a fix indeed.
Anyways, he is trying to devise how to defeat these 3 Silver Knights. So you do.
Oh ho! What's on your mind, friend? Wait. You defeated those monsters? Fantastic. I'm saved! This Knight of Katarina hereby commends you. Take this as a token of my gratitude. But be warned, gallantry entails great risks. Next time, give me a chance to come up with a plan.
And he gives you a tiny being's ring. There's a lot of cool things for you to grab, specifically the Favor set, Havel set, the Silver Knight set, and also the Sunlight Blade Miracle. There's also the Hawk Ring and the Leo Ring, and the Ring of the Sun's Firstborn. You can also grab a great magic weapon, a Firekeeper Soul, and several Demon Titanites, and a Twinkling Titanite, and there's also a Titanite chunk, and many other weapons. There's also another blacksmith here who is a giant. He can also make boss weapons if you use a boss soul, which is what I did making Quelaag's Fury Sword from a +10 scimitar. And I also upgraded my Uji Katana to a Lightning Uji Katana. I think I am about ready for ONS. Ornstein Smo is the best base game boss fight in Dark Souls 1. Period. Smo was the royal executioner of Anor Londo, wielding a massive hammer. He desired to be one of Gwyn's knights, but he was rejected because he took pleasure in his work, and he also ate the bodies of those he executed. He remained in Anor Londo after the gods left in order to protect Guinevere. Ornstein is one of Gwyn's loyal knights who wore gold armor resembling a lion, and wielded a great spear, allowing him to kill many dragons, giving him the name Dragon Slayer, fighting along Gwyn's firstborn son, and became one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn, who was given a ring that strengthened his counterattacks. This is the best gank fight in the entire series, with something really cool happening after you take down one of the 2 of them. If you defeat Ornstein first, Smo slams his dead body into a bloody pulp, and he gains lightning damage to his attacks. But if you defeat Smo first, Ornstein gets big. This really makes the fight, basically giving you options on how you can proceed with the fight, alongside amazing music. Great lore for the both of them? You know what? This is our first S tier boss fight. Give it up to ONS, the first S tier fight. After defeating Ornstein and Smo, you can finally gain access to the Lord Vessel, and the view of amazing chest ahead!
Thou hast journeyed far, and overcome much, chosen undead. Come hither, child.
This is stupid.
O chosen undead, I am Guinevere, daughter of Lord Gwyn and Queen of Sunlight. Since the day Father his form did obscureth, I have awaited thee. I bequeath the Lord vessel to thee. And beseech thee, succeed Lord Gwyn, and inheriteth the fire of our world. Thou shalt endeth this eternal twilight, and avert further undead sacrifices.
This is Guinevere, the Princess of Sunlight. She is the first daughter of Gwyn and was worshipped as the goddess of sunlight, and was a symbol of beauty and fertility, and was beloved by all the other gods. After Gwyn linked the first flame, he gave his throne to the Nameless King. But after the Nameless King decided to ally with the dragon, he was dethroned and exiled, and she abandoned Anor Londo to marry the flame god Flan. But how is she here then? Oh well, she just gave us the Lord Vessel, which could allow the chosen undead to warp between bonfires and can open the door in Firelink Altar. But why is she here if she left? Let me test her.
Tarnisheth the godmother's image. I am Gwyndolin, and thy transgression shall not go unpunished. Thou shalt perish in the twilight of Anor Londo.
This is the true Anor Londo, an illusion. It's dark and empty. Ornstein wasn't even here. He was out looking for the Nameless King. It was all an illusion made by Gwyndolin all along. After defeating some of Gwyndolin's lackeys, including the Firekeeper, and stealing her Firekeeper soul, we must go and fight him.
Heretic. First thou offendeth the godmother, and now thou see fit to trample upon the tomb of the great Lord. I am the Dark Sun, Gwyndolin. Let the atonement for thy felonies commence.
Gwyndolin is the last-born son of Gwyn. And yes, I said son. Despite being born a male, he had a strong affinity for the moon and a fragile and repulsive appearance, mostly because of the snakes coiled around his lower half, which, I don't know, I believe he could be really cute underneath his... you know what, never mind. So, because of this, Gwyndolin was raised as a girl, was forced to wear women's clothing, and was given a magic ring which would make him move and act like a girl. They turned him into a femboy! This is fucking stupid. After all the gods left, Gwyndolin made an illusion of Guinevere since he believed himself to be unfit to rule Anor Londo, and he established the Blade of the Darkmoon covenant with Velka. Gwyndolin teleports away whenever he is hit, so you have to try and close the distance between you and him each time. However, he fires magic projectiles and shoots you with arrows to try to impede you. This fight isn't all too tough, but his lore, music, and especially his design, like, my god. He is saved from a lower placement. Like, I really have to emphasize, I really, really like his design. C tier.
Oh, heretic, swathed in dark, an eternal curse upon thee.
After beating Gwyndolin, you can access a tomb that was dedicated to Gwyn, even though he is not in here, for reasons you will see later. There is nothing left to do here, and all we can do is return to Firelink and inform Frampt that we have the Lord Vessel.
Heavens, you have done it. You have retrieved the Lord Vessel after 1,000 years. It is you. It is really you. Forgive me. I really should calm down. Now, let us take that vessel on a journey. I assume that you are ready. Now, be still. This is the firing chamber for the successor of Lord Gwyn. Now, place the Lord vessel on the altar. Very well. As Kingseeker, I shall now instruct you, the Lord's successor, in your next task. To achieve your fate, fill the vessel with powerful souls, commensurate to the great soul of Gwyn. Scarce few possess such brilliant souls. Grave Lord Nito, the Witch of Izalith, the 4 kings of New Londo, who inherited the shards of Gwyn's soul, and Lord Gwyn's former confidant, Seath the Scaleless. All of their souls are required to satiate the Lord vessel. Are you ready? Then we shall return. Stay still for a moment.
Now we have to collect the 4 Lord Souls. I decided I want to go to the New Londo ruins first, but before I do so, I have to get the Covenant of Artorias, which will allow me to access the Abyss so I can fight the 4 Kings. Progressing through the door, I also find the Enchanted Ember, allowing magic weapons to ascend. After a bit, we gain access to the Grave of Artorias. This is Great Grey Wolf Sif, the wolf companion of Knight Artorias. Artorias and Sif traversed into the Abyss in order to defeat Manus, but Artorias and Sif were overrun, so Artorias had to protect him. So Artorias had to protect Sif so he couldn't die. So Artorias had to protect Sif so he wouldn't die. Later, Sif was rescued, and now he stands guard at the grave of his master, to prevent anyone else from being lost to the Abyss. It's best to stay under Sif, dodging all of his sword swings and whacking at his legs like that. One final thing, Sif will begin to limp at critical health, which honestly just hurts me every time I see it. Also, the music, super good. Sif is a really good boyo, so if I give him anything less than an A tier, I will probably be murdered in the street. After killing Sif, I gained the Covenant of Artorias, which will allow me to traverse into the Abyss. After arriving at the New Londo ruins, it's the crestfallen warrior. He went hollow. Since you rang both bells of awakening and got the Lord Vessel, no more undead will head to Lordran, leaving him with no purpose. It's honestly just best to put him out of his misery. Anyways, this is New Londo, a former small country of humans, and back when it was, the Four Kings ruled the land, and they were recognized by Gwyn for their abilities and foresight, and gave them a fragment of his Lord Soul. The country was a flourishing country. Even though the first flame began to fade out, and the Curse of Undeath arrived, New Londo stood strong, until Koth showed up and seduced the Four Kings to follow his ideals of ushering in the Age of Dark, and taught them the art of life drain and freed them of the Dark Sign. And the Knights of New Londo became Dark Wraiths, which is also a covenant. This was an actual threat to the gods, unlike Priscilla, so Artorias was sent to hunt the Dark Wraiths. However, it was not enough to cross the Abyss of the Four Kings, so Artorias was forced to make a ring that would allow him to cross the Abyss, but would also curse his greatsword. But he failed to defeat the Four Kings, and that left one decision: flood the city. So the city was flooded despite the fact that its civilians would be killed and the culture would be lost forever. It was a success. Now the Four Kings and the Dark Wraiths were sealed away, but everyone else was turned into ghosts, who can only be damaged if you use a transient curse. As we continue, we find Ingward, who was one of the three sealers who flooded New Londo and was forced to keep watch. However, the other two got bored and left, which, completely understandable.
Well, this is a surprise. I get few visitors, save for ghosts. You have the Lord Vessel. Very impressive. I know exactly what your intentions are. You seek the Four Kings, whom I guard over. This is the key to the seal. The Four Kings slumber in the deepest chamber of the ruins. Use this key to break the seal and open the floodgates. Oh, and do not forget, the Dark Wraiths reside in a dark void called the Abyss. But the Abyss is no place for ordinary mortals. Although, long ago, the knight Artorias traversed the Abyss. If you can find him and learn from him, the Abyss may prove surmountable.
Since we have the Lord Vessel, he gives us a key so we can open up the seal and defeat the Four Kings. After getting rid of the flood... Oh, hey, what's this? Valley of the Drakes. I wonder... Oh god, it's another undead dragon. The Valley of the Drakes is a small chasm with a couple of wyverns. That is all. As we continue... Oh lord, it's the Dark Wraiths. There's a lot here for the players to find. Most notably a very large ember, transient curses, the Curse Bite Ring, a rare ring of sacrifice, a composite bow, a parrying dagger, and an S-Dog. So basically stuff to deal with ghosts. As we proceed, we are finally able to dive deep into the abyss. This is the Four Kings. Despite their design, these are humans. Okay? These are humans. This is what happens when the dark sign is shed from you. I really love the concept of this fight. The Four Kings is a DPS test. One king spawns at a time, with the second king spawning in a minute after, and the final two kings spawn the next minute. Basically, do as much damage as you can within those time frames, or else more kings will spawn, and will cause you even more trouble. But they're not all too tough outside of a few attacks. They also have a grab attack that will take away your time. This is a really, really well made fight, and I honestly have very little complaints about it. And also, I just gotta say, music's pretty good. A tier. After defeating the Four Kings, you get a bequeathed Lord Soul Shard and 4 humanities. If you beat the Four Kings before getting the Lord Vessel, because you can do that, you will be able to do the Age of Dark ending, since you can interact with Primordial Serpent Koth, and join the Dark Wraith Covenant, which is a PvP-oriented covenant where you invade other worlds to steal humanity and is needed to get the Age of Dark ending. I think now it's a good time to descend back into Blighttown. Next up, we have to go to the Demon Ruins and Lost Isleth. But first, I must go to Ash Lake. On our way, we see Siegmeyer in the poison swamps of Blighttown.
Oh ho! Excuse me, I was so absorbed in thought I just drifted away. You see, I'm actually in a bit of a fix. I've made it this far, but I'm short on antidote moss for the trip back. By my knighthood, I'm ashamed to ask, but can you spare a few scraps of moss? Fantastic! Thank you. A saint you are. This Knight of Katarina expresses his deepest gratitude. I shall not forget this. Please, take this, a symbol of my appreciation. Well, our fates do seem entwined, don't they? Perhaps this, too, is the will of Lord Gwyn.
And if you have 3 purple moss clumps, you can help him again. Also, I forgot to mention this, but if you have a Chaos Pyromancy and go to Laurentius, he will ask you where you got it from, and if you say Blighttown, he will go down there and go hollow. Anyways, time to go through the Great Hollow, the center of a giant tree, and is quite dangerous, all things considered, since there is always a risk of falling, and there's a whole ton of basilisks here, so you might get cursed. But if you get to the bottom, you arrive at Ash Lake. Ash Lake is an endless, bottomless stretch of water and arch trees that has a bunch of ash piled up around it, possibly from the creation of fire. And it is theorized that Ash Lake was the home of the dragons. There's also a Hydra over here. It isn't too tough if you fight it at this point in the game, but if you fight it earlier, it's gonna be a challenge. It just spews water and rams you with its head. Nothing too bad. Also, there are fucking clams. As you progress, you find the Stone Dragon, one of the last dragons left in the world, and a descendant of the Everlasting Dragons, and is the helm of the Path of the Dragon Covenant, a covenant where you can become one with dragons. When you join, you get the Dragon Eye and the Dragon Headstone, which will allow you to breathe fire and gain the head of a dragon, and later you can get the Dragon Torso Stone, which will turn you into a dragon, and make you basically do Elden Ring Dragon Communion incantations. I don't know, I never tried it. Pretty cool covenant. Anyways, now we must go to the Demon Ruins. After returning to the Demon Ruins, also, by the way, if you defeat Ceaseless Discharge, you can traverse the solidified lava. And, hey look, Taurus Demons, and Capra Demons. Also, you can find a Chaos Flame Ember and a Large Flame Ember. Alright, time to fight the boss. Oh, god damn it! Demon Fire Sage. It's just the Stray Demon again, but it's on fire. It does have lore, unlike the Stray Demon, though, being one of the first demons, and is a demon priest. Yeah, that's kinda it. E tier. After, we must. Also, I need to use Poison Mist on this door so I can kill something on the other side. You will see why. As we continue, there is another fog wall. And here is the third Demon Ruins boss fight. This Centipede Demon. I'm so tired of these bosses. Okay, so the Centipede Demon emerged from where Ceaseless Discharge's orange charred ring landed, and that's its lore. I am not joking when I say that I'm covering the Demon Fire Sage and the Centipede Demon in the same paragraph. Look, here it is. If you cut off the head of the Centipede Demon and kill it, you can get the orange shard ring, and you can cross the lava without dying, which is all the worth the Centipede Demon has. Also, it can jump up and get stuck in the ceiling, which is how I died in this fight. This is one of the only bosses I actually died to in the base game, but that's because I thought the boss was glitched. The only others I died to were Seath, because I was trying to get the Moonlight Greatsword, the Bed of Chaos, the Stray Demon, the Capra Demon, and Gravelord Nito. I can't even tell what this boss is doing most of the time. I just stand under it and whack at it, and it dies. E tier. Anyways, we got the orange charred ring, and now we can cross the lava so we can continue into the worst area in the game. Whoa. Here we are. Lost Izalith. Okay, so this area does have two positives. The first, Solaire is here. It has been a bit since we've seen him, and it seems like he is still looking for his son. And I mean that as in son, like the star. And for the love of God, if you want to save Solaire, you need to do what I did with the Poison Mist, or give 30 humanities to the Fair Lady, because if you don't, Solaire will go hollow. But anyways, now we have to cross the lava lake, and have to carefully pass these whatever the fucks. I'm looking right now, and they are called Bounding Demons of Izalith. Huh. Anyways, there's a twin humanities up here, and there's an illusory wall right here with a bonfire, so don't worry too much about the Bed of Chaos run back. It's only like 50% garbage. Izalith was once a great city that was the domain of the Witch of Izalith, but after she tried to recreate the First Flame using her Lord Soul and failing, she became the Bed of Chaos and started to birth demons, and accidentally turned most of her children into demons, and 2 of them fused with her to become such Bed of Chaos. The demons fought Gwyn and his knights, and after they were defeated, they were locked here. Okay. First off, I went across the bridge here in order to finish Solaire's questline. If you don't kill the red-eyed chaos bug, Solaire will find the sunlight maggot and become hollow, since he found his own son. But if you kill it, Solaire will not go hollow, and you can summon him during the Gwyn fight.
Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my dear son. What now? What should I do? My son. My dear, dear son.
You can still get the sunlight maggot though. Don't worry, you don't have to let Solaire die in order to get it. That's just dumb. My second detour is over here, and hey look, Siegmeyer.
Oh, excuse me, I was so absorbed in thought I just drifted away. Must be the warmth. Well, what's on your mind? No, don't tell me. Those monsters making life difficult for you? You need not be ashamed. We're all in the same boat, you know. I really have run up quite a debt to you. Perhaps the time has come.
Listen, if you want to truly finish Siegmeyer's quest, don't do what I did. You need to talk to him a few times, and then make sure his health stays over 50% and that he kills the final Chaos Eater, or else his questline will not end naturally. Yes, I know the stipulations are bullshit. Shut up! If all these are met naturally, Siegmeyer will go on one last adventure and go hollow, and be killed by his daughter Sieglind. Yes, Siegmeyer has a daughter, Sieglind, who traveled to Lordran so she can impart her mother's last words to him, since Siegmeyer doesn't know she's dead. Is that all to do here? You fight Kirk, Knight of Thorns, again. Potentially for the 3rd time. I fucking hate this area. I guess we have to get onto the goddamn bed of chaos. The bed of chaos. Where do I even begin? Well, with the lore, obviously. This is the Witch of Izalith, though you wouldn't guess it from just looking at it. She was a primordial human who aided Gwyn in defeating the everlasting dragons, along with her daughters and their pyromancies. This is what happened to the witch after she tried recreating the first flame. Like a dumbass. Everything else about her lore has already been covered, so... Okay, this fight fucking blows! How can you make a fight this bad? Like, oh my god, it's just the worst boss fight I think I've ever fought. Miyazaki himself even said that if he had to change one thing in this game, it would be the Bed of Chaos. Quote, "When deadlines were closing in and I couldn't get a good mental image of what I wanted, we had to settle on something. Those situations were the hardest because I knew something was wrong but couldn't express what I wanted and couldn't give a solution. That was difficult both for me and the artist I was working with. I suppose the Bed of Chaos is the principal example of this. We really had trouble with that. I've already talked about quite a few aspects of the game I'm not entirely happy with, but I'd have to say that my greatest regret is the Bed of Chaos. The artists and designers worked extremely hard and came up with some fantastic ideas, but it exposed a real problem in our production method. We had no way to find a common goal and work towards it when things went wrong. It's definitely something I want to correct in the future." End quote. So yeah, Miyazaki himself said that he didn't like this boss. And why is that? Because it's a platforming boss in a game where you can't fucking jump. Well, you can, but it sucks. The boss's swings also give you so little time to even be able to jump, so you can't even get to her once you take out the first 2 Daughters of Chaos who are connected to her. Oh, but don't you worry, this boss has checkpoints. Imagine being so shitty that you have to have goddamn checkpoints in your boss fight. And once you finally, after several attempts, get to where the witch is, she dies in 1 hit. No, seriously, she actually has 2 health. And believe me, it's the most fucking satisfying thing ever. I cheer whenever I kill this cum stain on my pure masterpiece. This is the worst fight in the series, and she will be going into the F- tier. Fuck you, Izalith! Okay. Oh my god, I just need to calm down. I'm actually angry talking about this fight. Holy. I'm not even scripting right now. Hang on. I'm not even scripting right now. This fight pisses the hell out of me. Okay. Alright. I think I'm good. Let's just move on to the Tomb of the Giants and kill Nito. As we return to the Tomb of the Giants, hey look, Patches!
Good day. You look reasonably sane. What are you doing in the catacombs? Are you a cleric or something? No? Really? then I'd have no qualms telling you. There's a fine stash of treasure right down that hole. I found it first, but, well, we're friends now, so I'll split it with you. In any case, have a look. It'll shimmer you blind. This is what I do, my friend. The trinkets I'll be stripping off your corpse, that's the real treasure.
Not much is known about Patches, but we know he was once acquainted with Shiva, Solaire, Lautrec, and Petrus through dialogue. Now listen here, kids. Patches is transdimensional. You know why? Because he's in Demon Souls, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring. So is he a god amongst men? Maybe, I don't know, possibly. Oh hey look, Rhea.
You're no hollow, are you? Thank goodness. Please be careful. There are 2 fierce hollows not far from here. They were once brave knights, my former escorts. Who would let such strong spirits be hollowed so? Heavens, is there nothing at all to be done?
So, Nico and Vince have gone hollow. So... now Rhea should be going back to Firelink after this, and if Petrus is still alive, he will kill her. But if Petrus is dead, she will reside in the Undead Parish until you buy all her sorceries, and then she will go to the Grand Archives and go hollow. Which I didn't do because I kinda forgot to do it. Listen, I didn't do it because I was just recording for like 15 hours straight that day and I wanted it to be over. Also, if we talk to Patches again, he will become passive and give up his trickery and go back to Firelink as a merchant.
Oh, you! Well, let's just calm down. Talk about things. I did you wrong, but I didn't mean it. These temptations, they can, well, overcome me. You know what I mean, don't you? Please, forgive me. You and me, we're jolly undead outcasts, aren't we? Oh, brilliant. A second chance. Wonderful. I had a feeling you'd understand. I did. But, if I were in your shoes, who knows what I'd have done. But now we're friends again. Eh?
But we should continue, because skeletons are everywhere. Yep, bunch of skeletons. Hey look, arch trees. Bunch of skeletons, pinwheel. Bunch of planks of wood. This is Gravelord Nito. Nito is one of the primordial humans, like Izalith. Well, was. He died at some point, but because of his soul, he came back to life through necromancy, conjoined with many different skeletons. And with his abilities over necromancy and miasma, he joined Gwyn and the others in defeating the everlasting dragons, and afterwards returned to the catacombs and the tomb of the giants. Kind of like when your mom asks you to leave your room as you're writing a script to a video to help bring in the groceries and you bring them all in at once and then go back to your room and just get right back to it. Brave warriors often went to pay their respects to Nito and joined the Gravelord Servant Covenant, and at one point, Pinwheel stole power from Nito. Nito isn't really too challenging, using mostly his Gravelord Greatsword, and he also has an AoE that applies toxic buildup. Not really too interesting of a fight, but it's fine, it's alright. Also, skeletons and giant skeletons are in this fight, and they are annoying. C tier. Now, we get Nito Soul, and we have only one more Lord Soul to collect. Seaths. We must go down to the Duke's archives in order to get Seath's soul. The library was granted to Seath as a reward for betraying the Everlasting Dragons, along with a bequeathed Lord Soul Shard. Six-eyed channelers are found here and are servants of Seath, and it is here that Seath conducts his experiments on the inhabitants of Lordran. The Archive Tower, once a place where books were stored, became a prison which was inhabited by Pisakas. After getting into... oh god, it's the frickin' boars again. We must ascend the tower, fighting these crystal dudes and all this junk in order to reach Seath. Alright, let's do this. Andy's out of my reach. I can't frickin' hit him. Andy's... god damn it, dude. We are now captured by Seath in this now shitty living space. This is the Archive Tower, and we are currently in prison, and as any good prison does, our guard is right in front of our cell. So now we can steal the key and... well, that's one way to do it. After escaping, they free the Pisakas! So now we must kill them. At the bottom of the tower, there's a cage, and hey look, Big Hat Logan again.
Hello, alas, I'm imprisoned once again. I don't suppose you could stage me a getaway. The archives. Such a storehouse of knowledge. So close, but just out of reach. The thought offends me so I could simply die. As a student of the arts, you understand me?
He has been trapped here. He has a knack for getting caught. And if we find the Archive Tower Giant Cell Key, that is a mouthful, alongside getting another Firekeeper Soul. After doing a bit of parkour, we are able to get the Archive Tower Giant Door Key, which will allow us to leave this cursed place. That was a mouthful as well. After leaving, I have to fight through more undead crystal soldiers, channelers, and serpents in order to gain access to the crystal caves, where Seath is. Plus, there's some other great things to find here, like the Channeler set, the Crystalline set, the Maiden set, a Crystal Ember, a large Magic Ember, Bountiful Sunlight and Soothing Sunlight, a White Seance Ring, a Strong Magic Shield, White Dragon Breath, Blue Titanite Chunks and Twinkling Titanite, a Crystalite Shield, an Enchanted Falchion, a Tin Crystallization Catalyst, Logan's Catalyst, and Avalon. Can you tell I have very little to say about the Duke's archives other than just describing the items? Anyways, as we continue, we must traverse to the Crystal Caves. Okay, I know people are gonna hate me, but I kinda like the gimmick of this place. I just like the invisible pathways, okay? I said it. I don't really like how you start to slip over here, though. That's kind of annoying. After reaching the end, oh god, the freaking clamps are back. Seath is a descendant of the Archdragons, without scales, obviously. He was granted the title of Duke by Lord Gwyn for his assistance in defeating the Everlasting Dragons. He later became obsessed with his experiments and collected countless tomes and was eventually driven to insanity by his research. And he had also acquired the Primordial Crystal, which granted him immortality, which he lacked due to his lack of scales. He is also known as the Grandfather of Sorcery. Now, is Seath the Scaleless too easy of a fight, or too difficult of a fight?
Yes!
If you are trying to cut off his tail to get the Moonlight Greatsword, this fight is a living nightmare. But if not, this fight is piss easy. Easy as piss. if you fight him last. Because all you need to do is stick close to him and whack at him. Also, be careful since his crystals also do curse damage. So if you take too much damage, you'll get cursed, so be a bit careful. I honestly have very little else to talk about when it comes to Seath's fight. His lore and design are great, but the fight itself is kinda mid. I'm gonna go with C tier. Anyways, now we have the final Lord Soul, so now we can open up the door in Firelink Altar. Hang on, there's a 85% chance I'm forgetting something. So now, we have to do the DLC. But first, we have to go down to the Darkroot Basin, and there's another Hydra. So we have to kill it. Next up, you gotta hug the wall and walk over here and kill the Golden Crystal Golem. Afterwards, you'll find some lady. This is Dusk, a princess of the ancient and lost land of Ulasil. People there practice magic that was unknown to Vinheim. Alright, next, you need to go to the Duke's Archives, kill this specific Crystal Golem, get the broken pendant, and then return and you will see a black hole. I don't quite think we're in Lordrain anymore, Toto. This is the Sanctuary Guardian, a chimera of several different animals like lions, goats, scorpions, and birds. I really like this fight. It has a really good and well-telegraphed moveset. The only downside of this boss is that it just has no lore whatsoever. But it is still a really fun fight, honestly. Also, after beating Artorias, 2 weaker Sanctuary Guardians will be here so players can get the Guardian tail by severing the tail if they initially missed it. B tier. After beating the Sanctuary Guardian, you are able to progress to the Ulasil Sanctuary and find Elizabeth, who is the Guardian of the Sanctuary and is the godmother of Princess Dusk.
Well, look at this one. From what faraway age hast thou come? Thy scent is very human indeed, but not intolerable. Ah, Princess Dusk's savior. Thine aura is precisely as she described. I thank thee deeply for rescuing Her Highness, but Princess Dusk is here no longer, snatched away by that horrifying primeval human. And so I must ask, couldst thou once more play the savior? Thank you. I am Elizabeth, guardian of this sanctuary, something of a godmother to Princess Dusk. I shall assist thee to my utmost, for I am one with the sorceries of Urasil. Thou shalt see further on, an abyss was begat of the ancient beast, and threatens to swallow the whole of Ulasil. Knight Artorias came to stop this, but such a hero has nary a murmur of dark. Without doubt he will be swallowed by the abyss, overcome by its utter blackness. Indeed, the abyss may be unstoppable. Still, I have faith that Princess Dusk may be rescued yet.
And from Elizabeth, we only get one objective. Save Princess Dusk. Oh, and, stop the spread of the abyss.
That's 2 things.
Now we proceed onto the Royal Gardens, and... Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, this is the Darkroot Gardens. Because, if you didn't know, this takes place in the distant past. I don't know, it's fine, and Calamite. But there is one talking point I do have for this area. Marvelous Jester.
Let me guess. Snatched by a shadowy limb and dragged off to the past? Yes, of course. Exactly what happened to me. We are both strangers in this strange land, but at least now there are two of us. Did you happen across Knight Artorias, the legendary abyss walker from the old tales? Well, if you haven't, it's just as well. He's a colorless sort, if you ask me. So, what did that giant mushroom make you do? Not that I care. It's none of my business. I've little to talk about, really. Oh, you know me. What do I know?
I like this guy a lot. He just looks like an NPC from my favorite Souls game. In fact, it is often theorized he is set from said game. But, he is more likely from Karim. Okay. He was dragged here along with us, but we know nothing else about him. Alright, I think it's time to pass the fog wall and fight the best fight in this entire game. Artorias, the Abyss Walker. You probably remembered earlier in the video when I talked about Artorias, but his story continues here. When Ulasil began to fall to the dark, he was given the silver pendant, which allowed him to deflect the dark of the Abyss, especially in its magical forms, but he didn't defeat Manus. Artorias sacrificed himself to save Sif using his great shield, and then he tried to flee, but it was already too late. He was already corrupted, his arm broken as well. This fight is perfect. Everything, the moveset, it's so fun to learn and super telegraphed. It is just an amazing moveset. He also has a move that increases his attack power and speed after a huge AoE, but it takes a bit for it to go off, so you can either heal, attack so he doesn't get it off, or apply any buffs in the meantime. It's great for the player if they need to take some time to recuperate after a bit, unlike Manus and Calamite. Honestly, I just love everything about this fight. I think that this is generally just a perfect boss fight. Well, almost. There's one fight in this series that I do believe to be just a little bit more perfect. S tier. After defeating him, we finally arrive in Ulasil. Also, there's a PvP arena here, but I didn't do anything with it this playthrough because I didn't want to write about it. Please, just give me some slack. This script is already 24 pages long. Ulasil was once a kingdom that existed in Lordran about 300 to 400 years before Dark Souls. It was once a land of sorceries, but the sorceries were far different than they were now. Dusk states that Ulasil was reduced to ashes long ago, which explains why it doesn't exist anymore. One day, Koth convinced the inhabitant of Ulasil to dig up the grave of the primeval man, who could have possibly been the furtive pygmy, who then turned into Manus, and then unleashed the Abyss, destroying Ulasil and corrupting the inhabitants into these. Also, if you wear the Sunlight Maggot or use Cast Light here, you can open up this wall and then grab this silver pendant. Continuing on, as you descend Ulasil, you will see its continuous descent into the Abyss. Also, if you go over here, you can get the Crest Key, which you need to encounter Gloth. In fact, there's a lot here, like Twin Humanities, a few carvings, Dark Orb, Dark Fog, and a Red Titanite chunk. That's all? Okay. Actually, if you return to Artorias' arena, you will find Lord's Blade Kiaran, who made a small grave for her fallen comrade, Artorias.
Is that not the soul of the man who fell on this spot? He was a dear friend. I wish to pay proper respect with that soul. Would you be willing to part with it? Yes, of course. I must not be presumptuous. Artorius would not have approved.
Kiaran is one of the four Knights of Gwyn and is the owner of the Hornet Ring, and she uses 2 daggers to kill her foes. And it was theorized the two were lovers. She requests the soul of Artorius, and if you give it to her, she will give you her daggers, which I didn't do because I didn't use them, but I assume they're good? I mean, one does immense bleed buildup and the other does immense toxic buildup, so if you use them in conjunction, they could be good? Anyways, let's descend even further. Here we are. The Abyss, or the Chasm of the Abyss. This is the location of the grave of the primeval man. And there is also a ton of humanity phantoms located here. And after a bit of walking, you can see Alvina? Anyways, if you roll into this wall, look, Sif. After rescuing Sif from all of the humanity phantoms, you get Artorius' Great Shield. That's really all that's here. Now, let's finish what Artorius couldn't. Manus is really tough for this game. Seriously, him and Calamite are the 2 fights in the game that I struggle against the most. Manus is a primordial human who possesses a thing, a dark soul. He didn't look like this until his humanity went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs after the Ulasil inhabitants dug him up, expanding the abyss and searching for his broken pendants. Manus is easily the toughest fight in Dark Souls 1 for me, alongside Calamite. He is insanely aggressive and will never let up on aggro at all, with some devastating attacks like the 1-2 wombo combo, and at phase 2, he gains access to dark magic attacks, which you can block with the silver pendant. The pendant makes this fight a little better, but it isn't always guaranteed to work, which can create some utter bullshit moments. This is a great fight all in all, and while I struggle a lot with it, it is still a great fight that I do have some fun with, but more often than not, I'm really stressed trying to beat him. A tier. Alright, so, I lost my footage of me beating both Manus and Calamite, so I don't have the final run attempts for either of them. I do have the footage for both of them. The reason why I have footage for Calamite is because I tried beating him in the middle of fighting Manus, because I had been attempting Manus for like an hour and a half at that point. Yeah, I know I suck. So yeah, I don't have the final run footage for either of them, but I do have footage. After you beat Manus, you free Dusk, and that's kinda all that happens. So let's move on to Calamite. After defeating Manus, I returned to the arena where we fought Artorius and used the crest key to find Hawkeye Goth.
A visitor, have we? Thou must be the one who freed Artorius. An old friend he was. Thanks to thee, he left this world with honor intact. And here I am, retired and blind. Of little help to thee, I'm afraid. If thou seeketh to explore this domain, be wary of a black dragon. I fear thee no match for this terrible beast. There's very little to be said. What good is a dog with no hares to hunt? But I'm lucky to be alive, I suppose.
Goth is one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn and supposedly the leader wielding the Hawk Ring. His accuracy was deadly, as he could knock a flying dragon out of the sky with one of his great arrows. He was given many honors by Gwyn, but Goff wasn't without his enemies, as people dismissed him as a brutish giant, even packing his helm full of tree resin, but that didn't impair his abilities at all. At some point, he was imprisoned here and spent his time making carvings, where he achieved personal enlightenment.
Well, thou's come again. This is a surprise. I suspect thou hast taken a gander at it, but the dark of the abyss, which swallowed poor Artorias, threatens to devour our entire land of Ullasil. It seems that this dire fate is unavoidable, but seduced by a dark serpent or no, they awoke that thing themselves and drove it mad. One's demise is always one's own making. If thine wish is to succeed poor Artorias and challenge the spread of the dark, then thou must face Manus, father of the abyss. The dark emanates from Manus himself. Even if this land shall expire, thou may be able to prevent further corrosion. But even so, one day the flames will fade, and only dark will remain, and even a legend such as thyself can do nothing to stop that. Now, do not mistake my words. I cherish my work. Wood carving is a nuanced art. I would have much to talk about with that blacksmith. In truth, how is the old chap, I wonder? Still hammering away, I should hope.
If you go down to Calamit's arena and die, he will offer to help you out with the dragon by shooting it out of the sky.
But Moro, is the black dragon posing thee duress? Yes, I thought as much. He's called Calamite. Ferocious dragon indeed. Even mighty Anna dared not provoke his ire. I see little good coming from this, but thy intent is to persevere to the bitter end. Good, good. What is bravery without a dash of recklessness? I've taken a liking to thee, and I owe thee much for thy service to Artorias. Now, watch, and see how Goff hunts dragons. Yes. A truer shot was never loosed. That bat will be grounded for a good spell. The rest is in thine hands. I await good tidings. Ah, dragon slaying. Knighthood's highest calling.
Now we are able to fight Calamite on somewhat equal footing. Calamite is a very tough fight in this game. I mean, I would expect it since his name literally has calamity in it. Calamite is a descendant of the Archdragons, being born shortly after the First Flame was ignited, and was born with a single orange eye which emitted a high-frequency attack that makes targets weaker, and he also had a tough obsidian hide, making him resistant to even lightning. Due to this, Calamite was able to survive the Purge of the Dragons, and after Ulasil was corrupted by Manus, he took residence nearby and nobody dared to provoke him. Calamite is a very tough fight, mostly due to his wonky hitboxes, and for me specifically, he can barely calm down enough for me to attack him. He's probably the least fun of the dragon fights in the series for me, besides the Ancient Dragon in Dark Souls 2. Calamite is challenging since he is resistant to all elemental damage, and given my build, yeah, this fight is really challenging. Also, Calamite has a move where he can lift you up, and for 60 seconds, you take double the damage, which can be very annoying at times. But his moveset honestly isn't that bad. It's honestly still kind of fun to fight against him, even if it is pretty stressful. He also looks really cool and has some cool lore, and again, his moveset is pretty good. So while he is the least fun dragon fight in the series for me, he is probably one of the best. A tier. We have successfully freed Ulasil, so now it is finally time to end this journey. And as we pass through the fog wall, we see the most powerful man ever, Hollowed. The man who linked the first flame is Hollowed, a shell of his former self, all in an effort to keep the Age of Fire alive. As easy as Gwyn's fight is, it is an absolutely brilliant way to end this game. Instead of fighting some powerful god who ruled the world, we are fighting the weakest vestige of him. Honestly, the way this fight ties back to the themes of Dark Souls is brilliant. B tier. Now, you have two options. Link the first flame and martyr yourself, or bring the Age of Dark and succumb to apathy. It is all up to you.
My lord, bless thy safe return. Let Karth and Fraft serve your highness. We are here to serve your highness. Let true dark be cast upon the world. Our Lord hath returned.
I knew about the Souls series for several years before I even touched several of their games, but I was always just turned away by the difficulty, tough to understand stories, and some of the toxic community members. And for a while, I never wanted to touch the series. Well, that was until I saw Elden Ring doing really well. I saw so many videos on YouTube and TikTok and many tweets about people loving Elden Ring when it released. and it had me slightly interesting. Then I saw Jacksepticeye play Bloodborne later that year, and I was super interested. I only saw the first video, but that was enough for me to want to play it. Fast forward later that year, I played Bloodborne and I fell in love with it. But I will speak more on Bloodborne later. Then in March of last year, I began playing Elden Ring and fell in love with it as well. So much so that I bought Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 after beating Elden Ring, because I knew I was going to love this series. And now I have beaten and gotten 100% of all achievements for both Bloodborne and Elden Ring, and have played Dark Souls around 5 times, played Dark Souls 2 once, and played Dark Souls 3 around 3 times. When I first played Bloodborne and Elden Ring, I committed what some might say is a cardinal sin. I went in with guides. Now I do regret that, yeah, so when I first played Dark Souls, I did it completely blind with very little outside help, and by God, it was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had playing a game. And I also want to add, I did play Sekiro Shadows Die Twice near the beginning of this year, and that was phenomenal. I still have yet to play Demon Souls, but I don't have a PS3 or a PS5, so I just can't. But in the span of 2 years, I became obsessed with this series, and it now holds a very special place in my heart, alongside The Legend of Zelda, Mario, Persona, Super Smash Bros., Pikmin, Bioshock, Celeste, Fire Emblem, Nier Automata, Resident Evil, Metal Gear, Pokemon, Kid Icarus, Mother, Fallout, Hollow Knight, Skylanders, Final Fantasy, Hades, Cult of the Lamb, Night in the Woods, God of War, Subnautica, Kirby, and so many more games. In fact, it might just be my favorite video game series ever. I love this series so much, and I wanted to share all my love for it with all of you. Oh my god, this video is finally over. This took so long to make. I honestly severely underestimated the amount of work that had to go into this, alongside school, my job, and other life things. I'm so glad this is over, and I hope my next project will not take as long. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy making this video. This video was really fun to make. And I learned a lot about editing in the process. I think I'm genuinely getting better at it. To close things off, I love Dark Souls. A game that I believe is near perfect, outside of some bosses and the kind of slow and semi-dated gameplay, which is still amazing somehow. Just pretty slow compared to most Souls games post Bloodborne. But everything else in this game is simply phenomenal. The world, lore, characters, most of the bosses, a lot of the gameplay, music, level design, online, everything. This is one of my favorite games ever, at least in the top 25. And yet, this is in my opinion, the third best Souls game. Actually, it's probably tied with Dark Souls 3 for me, but please don't make me choose, I've been recording long enough already. But if this game is only the third best game in the series, and it is as good as it is, then the 2 games above it must be some of the best games ever made, right? Well, they are. But I'll talk about one of those 2 at a different time. Thank you for going on this journey with me, and I cannot wait to bring you even more content soon. Hopefully it won't take as long, but for now, goodbye everybody. Be safe, and don't you dare go hollow.
What? Still here? Hand it over, that thing, your dark soul. For my lady's painting.